Hey, this is Jeremy Hahn, creator of Image Comics, The Realm, and The Beauty. I'm here with Southern Fried Geekery Podcast.
1, 2,
3. What it is, you have a choice between two horrible choices. Would you rather have a cat with a human face or a dog with, instead of paws, human hands?
That's the easiest answer. You would want a dog with human hands. You want Jerry put up no, fuck you.
You're giving a dog motor skills.
They already have motor skills. They're the most loyal creatures.
You're giving them opposable thumbs then.
Exactly. Can you imagine what a dog, like they would give you back rubs?
Can you imagine what they would get into though?
Bring you beer.
I know my dog.
You're
would
giving
open
a dog the
fridge and eat all
ability.
the food.
You're giving the dog an ability to be able to operate a gun, Caleb. Is that what you want in your world?
Yes, because maybe they'll fight back against the humans who operate guns.
I'm not even mad. You ate an entire cheese log. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed.
No, so cats are already sadistic sociopaths, and now you want to give them human facial expressions? Like we this is how society's fault.
You know what house you're in, right?
Yes. And I constantly think that one of your cats is watching me from the back, planning a murder.
You're not.
Well, she's playing
wrong.
with the cord here.
See? She's going to strangle me.
But I think, like, regardless of your preference, I think we can all agree that this subject matter would make a great Junji Ito manga.
Oh, absolutely.
Has he not put a human face on a cat yet?
He probably has. I haven't finished all of Frankenstein, so I don't know what the backstories are. Which, by the way, that isn't all just Frankenstein. There are actually horror stories beyond it. It's
Very cool.
About
Yeah.
half the book is Frankenstein.
I haven't finished it yet, so
I haven't
I'm
even started
do
yet.
that. So anyway, Jerry put up a poll asking people whether they would want a cat with a human face or dogs with human hands, and he was talking about how he doesn't understand how neck and neck it is, and I just don't understand why anybody would want cats with human faces. Like, that's terrifying. And dogs with opposable thumbs would probably make the world a better place, just in general.
Full disclosure, I can't take all credit for that because it was on this week's episode of My Brother, Me.
That's fair.
It was a user submitted question that they got, and I was just like rolling on it from Conway back home, and I was like, I want to see what my friends think.
Well,
and it's the closest neck and neck race ever.
So I'm not a progressive, and I believe that cats and dogs should stay in their place.
Well, I mean, here's the thing that they brought up. You know, if you give dogs hands, then they're still just a dog. They're just kind of like a freak of nature with hands.
Right.
If you give cats faces, then does that make it a human with a cat body?
I saw an episode of Teen Titans Go where Robin wears a cat outfit and pretends to be a cat the whole time.
And it was fucking adorable.
It was.
And Starfire loved him.
Yeah.
can you imagine?
became a Catwoman
Can you
over it.
imagine my dogs with human hands and how much better the world would be?
Can you imagine where
So
your dog
much good.
is curled up
So
on
much
your,
good.
curled up next to you, and all of a sudden you just feel a human hand just rest gently on your arm.
I mean, you don't know that doesn't happen already. So, anyway, all right.
Not expected. It's creepy.
The things that we talk about. And I hope my brother and me appreciate us shouting them out on our
Putting
podcast.
that plug.
Yeah, they need the help, obviously. We never mind supporting lesser podcasts.
They're regular
listeners.
They're regular listeners of ours.
Yeah,
they're big fans.
Yeah, no one's heard of the Adventure
confirmed.
Zone.
It's confirmed. They listen to us. Anyway, hey everybody, welcome to episode 45 of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. As always, I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
I'm Craig Lance.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Jerry Wayne Smith. There. I said it. Oh, shit.
Ooh.
They're all looking at me.
I thought it was D.
Jerry Wayne? That is the most southern name ever.
No, dude, like, I've always been that super basic white dude that has the three, like, most basic names ever.
Well, I have 3 first names, so.
That's true.
I have a hyphen.
You are a hyphenate.
That's all you're getting from me. So we're back to our regular scheduled kind of schedule. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I said it anyway. Our regularly scheduled schedule when we're going to schedule the schedules.
Yeah, I'm back on the show.
Craig is back on the show. We're all together. We're back at our comfortable spots in our studio, which is also
It doubles as my kitchen.
Yeah, Craig's dining room.
The bed. Now we're back together again.
Wow.
La, la, la.
Did you smoke weed before you came here this morning?
That was from a Tenacious D song. You wouldn't understand.
And weed would actually make him more normal.
It would probably calm him down. Anyway.
So I made a mistake, and I'm going to have Jerry and Blake both in my Pathfinder game. So it's going to be a competition of who is the saltier.
You have got your hands full, sir.
Yes.
Well, so not only are we back together again for the first time ever and discussing the future horrors of Craig's Pathfinder game, to which Valium will probably be administered to the players. It's also
DM for sure.
Oh, exactly. I also want to throw out that today, while we're recording this, is in fact Veterans Day. It's the day that we all remember those who have served in one way or another to protect our American values and freedoms, or they signed up, they did their job, and not all of them made it home. So we appreciate you guys, and we want to thank you for your service. I think we all agree that it doesn't matter what political persuasion you are. It doesn't matter if you're for this, that, or the other. You can respect the people who put on the uniform and go out to work. So thank you guys. As Jerry takes his hat off, that was good timing, buddy. Respectful as fuck.
I mean, we all probably have grandparents or cousins or uncles or brothers or people that have served in some capacity.
Absolutely. So. I don't think anybody. I don't think any of us doesn't know someone who hasn't worn the flag on their shoulder.
And we also live in an Air Force base area.
That's true.
Close to one, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yep. So thank you guys. So if you want to come hang out with us and join in all the Southern Fried shenanigans, this, that, and the other, obviously you're listening to our podcast, so you want to, but you should come join us on Facebook or Instagram or the Twitters, where we are at SFG Podcast. And you can email us at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. And if you do all those things, what you'll very, very quickly realize is that I actually don't do a lot on social media on those things, but Sean is heavy-handed AF on that. And he has got all kinds of stuff going on. And one of the things that he does is he does a daily sketch, a daily drawing as requested by people who listen to the show, or people who are part of our social media. It comes to my attention that those are not necessarily things that are the same, which is weird, but okay.
He's never allowed to get on to me for saying an abbreviated word, ever again.
Oh, I'm allowed to do what I want.
Not wrong.
You missed our Wednesday conversation. I'm now God King, so that happened. You just missed it. So anyway, Sean, what'd you draw this week, brother?
Actually, I'm going to do a catch-up episode with this one because we were at the con last week and I wasn't able to give the shout-out to all the kind people who drew. So bear with me as a full list is coming. Starting off, we did Moana from the Disney movie the same name. That was from Davina McNary, a good friend of Vina Love Bracelets. Go check her stuff out on Instagram. After that, I did Hellraiser Pony, as requested by our own Caleb Alexander McKenzie. After that, it was Zelda Rescuing Link from Ganon, as requested by Jerry's own Stephanie Straw. Following that, I did Working Out with Jerry, as requested by one Andrew Pearson, recalling great times when Jerry and Andrew used to work out all the time, and Jerry used it for therapy sessions.
Pictures were so blurry. I couldn't read the subtitles.
It wasn't. It was just random gibberish that he ignored while he lifted weights and you lifted your one.
I wanted to see what you think I said.
Okay. Moving on.
Thank you. Fucking hell, people who can't draw always want to criticize. After that, it was Vlad from Hack Slash, as requested by Craig, with Vlad cosplaying himself as Dravis.
Yes.
But he wouldn't take the trench coat off, so he just ripped the sleeves off to show the armor.
Yes.
Hashtag Team Sleeveless.
Yes.
After that, Friday through Sunday, our wonderful, wonderful people who came to our booth during Comic-Con Way requested some free sketches and even were nice enough to pay for a full sketch.
Nice.
So I did various drawings throughout that weekend. That kind of covered the next 3 days. Anything from a family portrait to anime characters to everything. I enjoy drawing every single one of them. I appreciated the people coming to help me out with that. On that same weekend, our good friend Leland and his dad came in for a family portrait, which actually posted up the full colored one for that. They were very kind of pay me for my drawing, which is rare.
That's awesome. Oh, that's badass, dude.
It's making me consider some things, but more on that later if I decide to. Following that, it was Captain Planet versus the Toxic Avenger.
Awesome. That was awesome.
Thank you. As requested by Frankie De Jesus. Following that, I did Mum-Ra petting a Maine Coon cat.
God love you, John Davis.
As requested by John Davis. After that, it was Deadpool being side hugging the Red Hood. As requested by Little Rock's own Red Hood, Nick Helms.
Looked a lot like foreplay to me.
I mean, is it hugging really just foreplay, really?
I mean, kind of.
It's the first step.
It's Deadpool.
Yeah.
Indeed. And finally, yesterday's drawing was Burt Gummer from Tremors, blowing the shit out of Venom.
Blowing him up.
Blowing him up.
Also, again,
Before Caleb.
Guys, I'm hanging in here by a thread, and Jerry's not helping, so there might be a murder on this fucking
Caleb,
show.
I fixed you from before Caleb got hold of you.
What did you just... Was that even a sentence?
Yeah, no. It was. Continue. Go ahead. Ignore that.
As requested by my friend Amy, known as Art Epidemic 24/7 on Instagram. Check out her drawing.
Just some behind the scenes stuff. Jerry's sitting over there playing with action figures while we... and I'm not shaming him. I'm just pointing it out.
And Sean's currently trying not to die as he's dealing with throat pandemics and weirdness. So
Jerryness.
It does make your voice deeper somehow. I'm not sure how that works.
That's what I told him. I was like, you're just going to have that super deep baritone.
Yeah.
Those are my drawings from the last 2 weeks. I appreciate every single request I've been given. I still have some in the pipeline. So we are trying to finish up this year of 365 drawings, which I will technically do more of because I did multiples on the weekends. But I always keep requesting them. I appreciate it every time.
Yeah. And it's awesome to see what people come up with that, it's stuff that usually we might not think of ourselves.
So another cool thing is he's doing the movie reviews.
Right.
And I don't know how your queue looks for that, but he's moved beyond the horror movies, and now you're doing regular movies, right? Or whatever anybody requests.
I am. And now that you mentioned, the queue is absolutely empty. I posted on the video, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned on Facebook. If you got a movie you want to hear my thoughts on, just hit it up on any of our social media outlets or YouTube comments. If not, I'm going to continue it. You're just going to leave me to pick the movies, and that can get weird.
It can't get any weirder than some of them that have been picked for you.
We're not going to talk about Helen Keller versus the Nightwolves.
Or Nazis at the center of the world.
Wasn't that Beth? And oh man, Robert.
I don't know.
It was.
Honestly, don't remember.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Pornhub February. That's going to happen because love. All right, so another thing that we do in conjunction with the social medias is we, what always happens when a bunch of geeks get together, you end up asking each other questions and getting your thoughts on everything. It's kind of how this podcast started to begin with. So one thing that we've been doing is encouraging people to come on our social media site and ask us questions. They can be anything. We have a post pinned to the top of our Facebook page that, hey, drop your questions here. It can be anything comics related, games related, movies, films, toys, personal. I mean, within reason. I think, we haven't shied away from anything before.
Never.
And it's really cool because it's always a conversation starter. And so I'm bringing two to the table today. One of them comes from our longtime friend of the show and buddy from around the way, Mr. Tyler May. And he wants to know, if we could make up one rule and everyone had to follow it, what would it be? So we weren't really sure if this question was necessarily related to pop culture or just kind of life in general. So with mine, I lean towards just life in general. So here's my answer to that question. My rule would be everyone has to engage a stranger for at least 30 minutes a day. What you talk about is up to you, but you have to talk to one person that you have never spoken with before face to face for 30 minutes a day. I think that we have a big problem with empathy lately in society. I think we have a issue with bubbles, being in your own kind of like-mindedness and refusing to understand other parts of the story. And I'm guilty of that as anybody else. So meet a stranger, 30 minutes, just once a day. Talk to somebody.
Well, you said engage first. What if I don't want to marry a stranger?
Just promises. That's all. You can break a promise.
Okay.
Yeah, don't buy the ring. If you're going to buy anybody a ring, hit me up.
Mine would be that we make our voting system easier. We live in a world where you can order stuff and have it delivered to you next day on the internet. And I think it's time that we put some thought power behind being able to make voting easier, where everybody can do it and can do it safely from their home, easily from their home. There's got to be a way we can do it without it being corrupted and hacked. So.
That's a good one.
Well, forcing everyone to obey one simple rule can always be a deep, dark thing. I think there's a few universal truths, which a couple of which y'all brought up are very good. Mine's going to be one rule that everyone has to follow no matter what is quit fucking touching people who don't want to be touched, whether sexually or otherwise. Stop it.
Yeah.
That's
no
fair
more groping,
rule.
no more raping, none of that bullshit. No more weird hugs for too long.
Right, that 5-second linger.
Yeah, just stop touching people when they don't want to be touched in any way, shape, or form.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I mean, mine is already a rule that everyone should follow, but like, just, driving all the time, you always see like shit everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just throw your stuff away.
Don't litter.
Yeah, don't litter. And recycle, honestly. I really wish that more communities had that option. Because I know over there by where John and them live don't really.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
We have a cat fight live in studio.
Yeah. They're missing their mom.
That's yeah. Oh, babies. So, those are all good things. So I like all of those answers. Yeah. Talk to a stranger. Don't touch people. Make it easier to vote, and throw your fucking trash away. It's not too much to ask, and throw it away correctly.
Yeah.
No plastic bags in the recycling bin. Don't do that. It's not cool. All right. So our second question comes to us from Mr. Dean Stahl, who is a person I met through the EOC boards. He's an artist, a really cool guy. And I like this one. I've been waiting on this one to come around for a while now because this is fun. So his thing is excluding Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, the big three. What are your top Avengers teammates? So let's reboot for a second. Iron Man, Cap, and Thor come together. They're like, okay, we got to get the Avengers back together. We got to assemble.
I mean, we do this like every 6 months in Marvel.
I mean, yeah. So we could technically this is our job interview. So we're going to throw 5 people together. Do y'all want me to go first, or do you want to go first, Craig?
Go for it.
All right, so I'll go first. So my first slot in my team, Scarlet Witch. Longtime member, one of my favorite Marvel characters. I think she looks amazing on the page, and she's got a varying power set, so she's kind of adaptable to whatever situation she needs. D-Man, Demolition Man, Mr. Dennis Murphy, the slobbiest bisexual fuzzy man in comics. I love this dude. For the last time we saw him was in the Lockjaw special, where he was running around with Lockjaw, teleporting in and out of things. His life's always constantly going to shit. He basically found the remnants of other superheroes' clothes and decided to be his own superhero, and that's rad. Simon Williams, Wonder Man. I think it's a great character. Also, somebody with kind of an adaptable power set. You never really know what he can do, but he's a powerhouse. Photon, Monica Rambeau. Amazing character. She can handle the stuff in space if she needs to. All kinds of just coolness. Plus, she's from Nolans. And so, shout out to our Southern Fried fam down there. And then last but not least, for me, is Moondragon, Heather Douglas. Badass, beautiful bald chick. Amazing mystical powers, cosmic powers, whatever it is. I don't really know. She's got a lot going on. She's a powerful psychic. She's intelligent. She's a scientist. I think she's a geneticist, actually. Just really, really cool character. And you're going to need somebody to handle weird space stuff when Thanos comes around. So that's my team. Scarlet Witch, D-Man, Wonder Man, Photon, Moondragon, and of course, the big three.
Yes.
Very nice.
Gregory, what you got, brother?
Mine are kind of some basics for Avengers. I picked Vision and Scarlet Witch. Number one, they team up really well.
Always a solid pairing.
Yeah. Vision, he's got his
Not
laser.
so solid with the Vision.
Yeah. He's just, brings brains. He brings, the power set that he has. Scarlet Witch with her chaos magic, when that's operational, can, end a fight by just saying no more.
Right, anything.
Yeah, no more anything, and it's over. Captain / Miss Marvel.
Right on.
Carol Danvers has always been a great addition to a Avengers team. She, again, can handle the space situations with her power sets. Spider-Man to bring the comic relief and another, genius level intellect to the team. And Luke Cage, because, he's just badass. So
Nice.
Sean.
My team is a little variety.
Oh, Jerry was looking at me like my...
Oh.
What?
I saw reactions.
No.
I had no idea.
Just go on.
My team might be a little varied. I don't know how efficient, but they're just some of my favorite characters that have been Avengers. So, and someone who I put in the lead in another team build that we did before is Storm.
Yeah.
Her as the leader. She's one of the most powerful mutants on this planet, of not powerful people. And she's shown she's a great leader.
And she has a mohawk.
And it would be Mohawk Storm. It has to be Mohawk
It's the only Storm.
every fucking time. To help her plan, strategize, and think of all the science-y things is Beast from the X-Men.
Okay.
One of my favorite smart peoples in all of Marvel. Powerhouse to help them with that too, though, is She-Hulk. Either current form or old school form. I don't care as long as She-Hulk. Yeah, I'd have a Hulk on the team, and I'll put She-Hulk every time. To help her bash things, as well as some other useful flight abilities, I'll put Rogue in the team.
Mm-hmm.
Got another powerhouse with a multi-use power set. And to round it off, just because you gotta have magic sometimes to wreck some shit. Sister Grimm, aka Nico Minoru from Runaways.
Nice.
I would have her on the team, especially now for what happened in the latest issue, but we'll more on that on my book of the week.
All right.
So I kind of noticed that some of the characters that I picked are indeed dead right now. So
Avengers, the Afterlife team.
Yeah,
It's comics.
Yeah. So I went with, and he's always been a super interesting character for me, mostly because like I didn't know about him until I went back and read like the older stuff. Jack of Hearts.
Yeah.
He had this stuff called the Zero Fluid that gave him like crazy cosmic powers. He had a really interesting costume and power set. Agent Venom was actually in a Secret Avengers team.
Yeah.
So Flash Thompson as Agent Venom. I had Black Knight on there as well, with the Ebony Blade. Machine Man was a West Coast Avenger. He would be like the techie person, obviously. And I had Moon Knight on there, but I kind of wanted to put either She-Hulk or Carol Danvers on it instead. Yeah, because I kind of forgot that we have She-Hulk right now,
Right.
and I fucking love that.
Yeah.
Like that whole aspect. But yeah, that was my team.
I love Jack of Hearts, man. That's
That's
a good pick.
it's like a throwback. Like, and he's like one of those kind of few people that they haven't brought back from the dead.
Yep.
That's kind of interesting.
Oh, he died hard too.
Yeah.
He died real hard.
It's the best way to go.
Yeah.
Like he flew up into space and blew himself up because the zero fluid powers or whatever were being unstable.
Yeah. And George Perez drew him amazingly.
Yeah.
I love seeing him on that character. So what's been going on in the grand world of pop culture that's been happening lately? We haven't really had a chance. We didn't get to talk about news much last week because we were conning it up. The weekend before that, we hit a couple of things, but it's been kind of slow. So are there any things that have been happening in the pop culture world that you think we need to talk about? Sean?
Well, DC, is expanding the Black Label section of their comics now. They're actually going to start releasing some classic and, quite frankly, some really good collections here soon. Watchmen being top of the list.
Yeah.
As well as, I know there's I swear there's some other...
Dark Knight Returns is going to be on there. Yeah.
Some They've only announced a few of them, but there's going to be some... In other words, they're bringing them back out. I don't know if they're going to do them single issues or just trades. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the collections again, so...
I imagine it's going to be in trades in the novel form.
Right.
But yeah, it's good to see those getting reprinted with the black label.
Yeah. So, like I said, they've announced a few, but they haven't announced everything. But what would you like for them to re-release under this new Black Label, which is letting them go the more mature books again and everything else?
Since they're doing Watchmen, I say go ahead and do V for Vendetta again.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'd love to see that get a Black Label treatment with some different back matter, because that was a rough story.
Yeah.
So I think that would make a good one.
Sandman.
Anything, Sandman?
The original Sandman.
Preludes and Lanterns.
Yeah, just start there and whatever you want to release, but I would re-release it all.
What was that Morrison run that had the big team of outcasts, and it wasn't tied into the regular DC
Doom Patrol?
universe? No, it wasn't Doom Patrol. It came before Doom
The
Patrol.
Invisibles?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I would like to see that re-release because I haven't personally got a chance to read all that.
You know that they're making a film about that.
Oh, really?
Yep. That's being in production, or I think it started production.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Invisibles is getting the film treatment before too long. So that's going to be interesting.
I started reading the trade paperbacks a while back, and I don't remember what happened and why I didn't finish it, but I think I've read the first 3 or 4 issues of it, and I was really interested. It was very Morrison.
Very cool. Yeah,
Sean?
I'd want them to re-release the Judas Contract from the Teen Titans. I feel like it's I don't know when the last time they ever put that out in trade. It's a very mature story, very dark story in the Teen Titans history, and I think a lot of people who only know Teen Titans Go should know the dark.
Very
for sure.
problematic story.
It is,
Yeah.
especially with involving Tara and her age.
Yeah,
But like you said, can't ignore the history.
no, man, it's there for sure. I think those are all good ones.
Before we move on, is there any series like maybe from Marvel or other publishers that are not currently released that you would like to see re-released?
I mean, just for me,
I'm throwing a loop in it.
yeah, no, I think that's fine. The Kurt Busiek, George Perez, that's always going to be my answer. That's what got me into comics. I would love to see that get the hardbound treatment all the way. It's like the Avengers reassemble,
Right.
but also the Avengers disassembled that came right before that. I think that would be really cool to see a modern treatment of. I think that's interesting.
Sean, you?
Mine is a trade that I still have that's fallen apart because I've literally had it since junior high, which is the early 90s. And it's the only Fantastic Four story I've ever liked. It's actually X-Men versus Fantastic Four.
Oh, yeah.
To my knowledge, it's never been re-released.
Is that John Byrne?
I think so.
Probably,
I think it's
yeah.
that era. It's like I said, early 90s. It's Doctor Doom, more or less, that's pitting the X-Men against the Fantastic Four. This is it's a sad, dark story because the Fantastic Four are getting torn apart by revealing that Reed knew the dangers of the cosmic radiation, as well as Doctor Doom curing Kitty Pryde or saying he can cure Kitty Pryde and Colossus. This is after the Mutant Massacre, where like Kitty Pryde's stuck in her incorporeal form, and she's gonna die if she doesn't fix it because she'll just dissipate. And like it tears both teams apart. It's a really dark story. I'd love to see that reprinted.
For sure. Jerry?
What was that X-Men story? Was it God Loves, Man Kills?
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely that.
For me, it's The Nam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that book is a great war series, and I don't know why Marvel won't give it a hardback treatment or even a trade paperback treatment, to be honest with you.
So just on another one out there, there's Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's out of print, but it would be cool to see that. Like, if Marvel was going to do a black label type thing,
Right.
that would be a book that I would have to, because that book is dark. Frank Miller gave no fucks at all.
Honestly,
does he
any of the
ever?
Marvel Knight stuff,
Yeah.
which leads into our topic later.
It does.
So, another interesting piece of news is Diego Luna, who played Cassian in Rogue One, is getting a prequel series on the Disney streaming service next. I believe it's fall of 2019 is when it's starting. Because the internet, some people are really upset about this, but me personally, I think this is a great idea. He was a complete and total asshole at the beginning of that movie. I mean, he killed a guy just because he was going to get them caught. Complete and total asshole. It's going to be interesting to see if they keep that same personality and we kind of see how terroristic the rebellion was in its early stages,
Right.
as opposed to a military organization fighting back, because at that point they weren't an organized military. They were just terrorist cells fighting back. So it'd be interesting to see that, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. If that's the route they go, especially. And, I think that'd be very interesting.
Also, before we move on to the next bit of news, I'm a bad nerd, and also I haven't been on a lot of podcasts, but the new Star Wars cartoon series, dropped on the streaming service.
I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, I think Jerry and Sean would really like it. It's done in a very anime style. It's takes place before the events of The Force Awakens, and it's centered around Poe Dameron and a new kid, and it's called The Resistance. I've only watched part of the first episode, but
Any idea how many episodes are out?
I think it's 8.
Yeah.
Maybe even less than that.
Is it all out already?
Yeah.
Oh. So they did like the Netflix thing and just released the whole
Yeah,
season
since it's a streaming service, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Interesting.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, that was. I'm glad they're doing this because Rogue One was such a good movie. I it was, I want to see those characters again because they created such a rich little universe in that one little thing. It was all kind of wrapped up, but that's what I love about Star Wars. Like, you can take a 5-minute clip of a Star Wars thing and it just blows open an entire history because it's so big. It's so overreaching.
I mean, it's a huge galaxy.
Exactly.
So there's so many minor players that you can take their story and make a huge story about. We don't know anything about Cassian Andor.
Yeah.
Other than
I'm all for it. Like, just anything more Star Wars. Like, we've got our first glimpses of the Bounty Hunter, and that or the Mandalorian, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's got me hyped.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff looks like it's going to be good that they're going to put on, and it's all being ran by Kevin Feige. So
yeah,
I just want my Aura Singh movie.
No, not Kevin Feige.
Feige?
No, the other one.
Oh,
the one that did Iron Man. Is that Kevin
John
Feige?
Favreau.
John Favreau. See, now I did it.
I told you it's slow and steady.
Caleb's
We're blending.
Caleb's rubbing off on everyone.
Star Wars is a big enough universe to where I'm not always crazy about prequel stuff. Mm-hmm. But Star Wars is such a huge story that prequels just fucking work for this franchise.
I just thought it was funny because at this point they're double dipping and making a prequel of a prequel.
At this point, I don't know that you can call them prequels and sequels and all of that anymore. They just take place in these different sections
Star
of the
Wars
timeline.
Stories, yeah.
So they just announced Star-Lord is getting really fucking old. They're doing a Old Man Star-Lord series from Ethan Sachs and Robert Gill, and they're going to be aging the Guardians of the Galaxy leader this February. I have jumped on a lot of posts made by this, and people are claiming that it's like the new Marvel Zombies. I disagree because both Old Man Logan and Old Man Hawkeye have been fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And if they want to do the same treatment, and I mean, technically that's what Cosmic Ghost Rider is Old Man Frank Castle, sort of, in a way. But yeah, if they want to do this for Star-Lord, I'm 100% on board.
Well, and DC's doing something similar. They're coming out with an old lady Harley.
Yeah. And I've actually heard
all that.
I've actually heard good things about that too.
Yeah, it's a concept.
Yeah, but I'm down for that. But see, here's the one thing that's going to split this one apart from the other ones, because I don't know if they've released a synopsis for it or anything yet. I think most of it said that it takes place in space. So I know the stuff that Hawkeye and Logan have in common are they're in the United States that's fucking controlled by all the supervillains and everything like that. So I'm kind of interested how Old Man Star-Lord's gonna play into, if any of that at all, or if they're gonna like expand our universe and show like some other, messed up things that are going on in space. Maybe some of the villains that help take over Earth or whatever are like, you guys can have this shithole, like we're gonna, expand our stuff into the stars and everything and take over stuff out there.
Well,
I just don't care enough about Star-Lord as a character to care about
I didn't care enough about Hawkeye before I read Old Man Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I think it's the natural progression to do with the things that Mark Millar came out with in the Old Man Logan original story, though, because the whole premise of that story is that in this dystopian society, like weird inbred Hulk rednecks destroyed the world and killed everyone.
And Hawkeye and Logan were the only two heroes.
Yeah, they were kind of
alive.
And I think in that story, Mephisto tricked Logan into killing everyone.
It was like the villains finally joined together and fucked everything up.
Yeah. They finally won, but in that world, that would only extend to the people who were the terrestrial characters that were walking around on Earth. Mm-hmm. And so characters who spend the majority of their time off planet, that wouldn't have affected them. They would have inevitably came back to Earth to see what the fuck was happening. But, so your characters like Guardians of the Galaxy, would not have been wiped out by, this sinister six that finally won, or the weird redneck Hulks, and so they would have came back. So I think it's a natural extension of that. That was the question that a lot of people have asked, and I'm glad to see them following through with that. Now, will I know you really enjoyed Old Man Hawkeye. I jumped off of it just because of space, but Will, I'm kind of like Craig. I just don't know that I'm interested in
Star-Lord,
modern day Star-Lord, much less the old version. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, it could be a very compelling story, so I'll probably give it a chance.
Yeah. I'll probably read the first issue or two.
And side note, Venom symbiote on a T-Rex.
Oh, yeah, also that.
They actually explained that in the Old Man Hawkeye
Did they?
series. Yep.
It should be in every old man version. I love that. In the original.
Would you call it a V-Rex?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, it's a V-Rex.
Moving on.
No, let's stick on this for another 10 or 20 minutes, Craig. We've got at least that much material of V-Rex.
Scientifically speaking, the V-Rex probably had a lot to do with the evolution of the Arkansaurus. So
Arkansaurian.
I knew he was doing that.
which is real, by the way.
It is a thing.
Okay, Craig, we're done. Go for it.
All right, so the next one, it's a little thing that I wanted to bring to the table, not because I'm excited about it, because my husband is excited about it. And when he's happy, I'm happy. That's how marriage works. So Sony's remastered edition of the Spyro games is dropping this week. Actually, I think it drops in 2 days. It's all 3 of the Spyro games that were in the line. They all got a facelift. They got the remastering treatment. And they're going to be available for download. Roger pre-ordered this thing like 4 months ago. Like he ordered this while he was supposed to be buying me a birthday present. Like that's just
Even better.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I've never seen him this excited about a set of video games. He absolutely loves it. He checks it every day to see if they fucked up and made it available too early. He's like a kid at Christmas. Spyro is such a fun game. Like this is a game back when I think it was in high school that I used to play. It's a great adventure game. I love to seeing it get the modern treatment to where it works with today's graphics and with televisions that work in 1080p or 1080i, or 3D or what have you. So it's going to look phenomenal. Super pumped. Order it. I know, Jerry, you've been stuck in Red Dead World. I don't know if you're going to crawl out.
I haven't, but I'm going to pick it up as soon as we finish
okay. I'm
podcasting,
sorry.
So.
Yeah. John's been playing a lot
Gotcha.
of it.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but to that aspect of Spyro, like I'm loving everything that I'm seeing on that, because they basically just took the base of the old game and gave it a fresh new look. So like all those dragons that you save, and it was one of my favorite things of watching the new video because they all had their own personalities in the old game, but they all looked the same. Mm-hmm. But in this new game, they gave them all their own looks and everything.
That's
and
badass.
I hope it leads into them developing more games because, like as we mentioned, John earlier, him and I really, really, really want a Banjo-Kazooie remake. Like that was like favorite 64.
So are there any other games that you guys would want to see get this kind of digital facelift, this remake, like not change the tenets of the game, just change the wrapping, so to speak?
I've got a few. But I'll let everyone else go if y'all have.
Go for it, man.
All right, starting off because I'm currently playing Diablo 3 on my Switch. I want Diablo 1 and 2 HD re-release.
God, yes.
Both of those original in one packaging, but maybe not full. Have to redo the whole game, but just a little graphical upgrade and just put them back out.
Oh yeah.
Following that, any of my BioWare fans out there, I want a fucking Jade Empire remake, sequel, keep the franchise going. It's from the people who did Mass Effect, if you know that franchise. But picture this in ancient China, where you're a martial artist with that kind of like dialogue trees and everything else. I want those.
They're also the same people that did Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Which is following up.
Yes.
Knights of the Old Republic,
Yes.
1 and 2, HD re-release on every platform, every console. I'm going to stop there, but there's plenty more, I assure you.
Yeah, mine was going to be Knights of the Old Republic, which, it's because I'm Star Wars,
So good.
But you can do this with Crash
He
Bandicoot.
is the Star Wars.
I am. You can do it with Crash Bandicoot. You can do it with all kinds of the Sonic games. I mean, you can do even the old Mario series.
I also want a new Conker's Bad Fur Day game. Are you familiar with that one?
Oh, I'm very familiar with
It takes that motif of having the cartoony like talking animals and stuff.
Yeah.
But it gives it an adult take. So there's like swearing and stuff in it and like really adult like themed content. Like he starts off at a bar and he gets hammered and ends up in this like magical kingdom of this panther or whatever. And it just goes downhill from there. It's fucking great.
So, I do have one more that's kind of a crazy one. I would like to see the old Atari version or Commodore version of Castle Wolfenstein redone with today's graphics where it's not a first-person shooter, but you're invading the castle type thing.
Right. So if I had to name some, it would be the 64 Turok games.
Oh, yes.
I think those were a lot of fun. I'd love to see those get a more modern treatment. Kind of the same storyline, or maybe not, just maybe come out with another Turok game. But so it's all funny. It's really funny. We all went with Star Wars game. You guys remember Rogue Squadron?
Yeah.
It was like a fighter pilot game wrapped in Star Wars. I loved that. You got a little bit of it with this what was it, Battlefront? But it wasn't very much. It was very disappointing that they didn't expand it to be more than what
Battlefront is disappointing in and of itself.
Exactly.
But wholeheartedly agree. Yeah,
I would love a retreatment of that. And then lastly, the Star Wars GoldenEye. Or not Star Wars. 007 GoldenEye.
I think they actually did one.
They did one for 360, I believe.
Did they? Okay.
Or maybe early Xbox One. I can't remember.
I honestly thought it was for a Nintendo platform.
No, wait, you're right.
Yeah, I thought it was for like either Switch or Wii. Yeah,
Wii U or Wii.
That's news to me. Okay, cool. So I think those are all games that could do that, and also Twisted Metal. I'd love to see a Twisted Metal game come up. Twisted Metal 1 redone for today's standards.
I want a new Star Wars pod racing.
Oh, yeah, that would be really good. All right, well, Jerry, since you finished that sentence off, we're going to move into your segment. So I owe you an apology. Mainly because I just didn't care what you had to say. I ignored the fact that it was your turn to do a book of or a thing of the month spotlight. No, it's not.
That's what happens whenever you roll a 1, guys.
I made a God King decision and just ignored you for 2 weeks. No, we were doing con stuff. Our schedules were all insane. I didn't look at the calendar and it missed me that it was the first of the month and you are owed your spotlight special. Last week, you didn't have to roll because you're a loser. And,
Naturally bored.
And you got to name your spotlight. So I yield to you the floor, my friend.
You're just saving the best for last.
Is that what it is?
So my topic that I want to discuss with everybody was what is, and this is coming from the booth that I had at Comic-Con Way where we build models of giant robots.
Mm-hmm.
So I love giant robots. Sean digs giant robots.
Chicks dig giant robots.
They do.
Giggity.
But what is your favorite
giant robots? Nice.
What is your favorite giant robot and why? And I actually, to kind of give somewhat of a small presentation, I found this article called A Brief History of Giant Robot Anime. It's not going to touch on all of them, but and it's by Kara Dennison. I found it on this website called blog.fuster.com. Giant robots and anime go together like sushi and avocado. Even if you're not expecting one, it's there. Whether it's an inherent part of the plot, a one-off episode, or a brief gag, you'll see one of these mighty mechas show up in just about everything. The first giant robot anime was Tetsujin 28, based on Mitsutaro Yokoyama's manga of the same name. If you're familiar with Gigantor, that's Gigantor.
Okay.
Black and white whenever it originally came out
manga.
Here. Huh?
You said manga.
Well, they did the anime for it and released it over here. The manga was what he released first. Or no, you're right. Anime. Did I say manga? Whatever.
You pronounced it manga is what you're pointing out instead of manga.
No, the anime was based off of the manga.
He's just
manga was sorry. All right. Anyway, moving on. In the original version, a young boy explores post-war Japan with his giant robot, making the world a better place while trying to protect his remote control from bad guys. Tetsujin wasn't good or bad. It all depends on who had his remote control. So he didn't pilot it. He had a remote control for it. It wasn't until 1972 that our heroes got in the robots. Legendary creator Go Nagai changed giant robots forever with Mazinger Z, a series that made the bold choice to have people pilot their robots from the inside. Mazinger Z is also where we saw the very first Rocket Punch, a mecha series standard. Mazinger Z and Getter Robo are considered super robots because of their size and the fact that physics generally don't apply to them, which means that they could just jump up and fly, defying the laws of gravity.
As you do.
In 1979, the real robot genre kicked off with Yoshiyuki Tomino's Mobile Suit Gundam. This, along with 1982's Super Dimension Fortress Macross, Robotech, established real robot anime as featuring lighter, more agile robots and more militaristic settings. Gainax, one of giant robot anime's heavy hitters, entered the fray of the first anime with the 1988-89 OVA series, Aim for the Top Gunbuster. This series launched the giantest of giant robots, the eponymous Gunbuster, and became Gainax's foothold in the genre. Fast forward to today, giant robots have made their way into everything from slice-of-life anime to magical girl series. If you've yet to experience the weird and wonderful world of giant robots, either the military drama of real robots or the universe-rending hot blood of super robots, there's no wrong place to start, except maybe Eva. Wait a bit for Eva. So that's our introduction to giant robots in anime.
All right.
So I guess I'll start it off. The giant robot I picked, which won't surprise Sean at all, was actually the Big O.
I love a Big O.
They had.
Now Caleb's awake.
Hey, what were we talking about?
Interested again.
I've seen plenty of robot anime before that, but that was the one that really hit me. I really like the design and everything like that, and it's interesting because it didn't really get great response in Japan. So they only made an initial first season of 13 episodes, and then the international buzz about it was so high that they kind of were like, hey, we need to make a second season and finish this series off, because they made a manga for it and everything too. But the whole premise of the series is you have this city called Paradigm City where 40 years ago an event happened and everyone lost their memories. So they have these memory banks and everything that call back to before this event happened that everybody wants. And the main character's name is Roger Smith, and he's a negotiator, and it's a really kind of sought after position. He also has a butler named Norman Berg, and he has a partner that's a cyborg, and her name's R. Dorothy Wainwright. It's really cool, and I think the reason why it appealed to international audiences so much is because it had a very Western vibe, and it was almost kind of like if Bruce Wayne had a giant robot, essentially. Right. Because Roger is always wearing these nice suits. He's very designed to look like Bruce Wayne. He's very rich.
The entire aesthetic of the anime looked very much like Batman the Animated Series.
Okay.
That's coincidental. There's someone in Japan who draws very much like Bruce Timm.
And he's got a watch that he summons the robot in, and he's got a really...
What does he say when he summons the robot, Jerry?
Big O, action! And then whenever he... what?
Showtime.
Showtime is the activation code whenever he gets into
Damn
the
it,
robot.
he got me. I thought I had him.
This is my favorite robot.
Okay.
Come at me, bro.
I thought he messed up.
So he occasionally has to summon Big O to fight other robots or giant monsters that plague the city.
I sometimes have to summon Big O for other reasons.
Giggity.
But yeah, it was just it was a really great series. The style, and the reason why I liked it so much is because at this point you had all these robots that just moved really fast and fluidly, and I don't know, it always came off a little weird to me because I was like, something this big I don't feel should be able to move this fast and everything, and this thing was kind of slow, but whenever it hit, those impacts were just really devastating. And it had this really cool mechanism, and it's one of the few times I've ever seen this on any giant robot. And it had almost was it sort of a hammer?
Yeah.
But it also had I can't remember what you would call it.
It's kind of like a gun cocking.
Yeah.
So it's pulling the hammer back.
He'll pull his arm back, and it'll go out. And then whenever he hits, it goes in and powers up the fist the hit. And it was really cool. They later on had two other mecha that were a lot like his that had their own cool gimmicks like that. But yeah, that's mine. The Big O, written by Hitoshi Ariga, and it was originally in Monthly Magazine Z when they came out with the manga. And ran from 99 to 2000.
Very cool.
Or 2003. So what you got for me, Sean?
No surprise to anybody who knows me or has listened to the show. My favorite giant robot is Soundwave from the Transformers G1 era.
God damn it! What am I going to talk about?
I know. I should have picked Caleb first because he probably would have said Soundwave.
He probably would have said Soundwave.
Yeah.
Soundwave is from the 1980s Transformers, known as G1 era, the first generation. He's just badass. Not only is he the kind of spy and intelligence officer for the Decepticons, he's an army unto himself. Like, he can be sent out by himself because he has a menagerie of cassettes that turn into animals and humanoids within his chest.
Menage a trois.
I bet you did with your big O. He's cool. He was a toy I always wanted as a kid and never got, and now I have way too many of.
So you're saying you need to give some of them away?
Yeah, absolutely not. I just have a pretty enormous Soundwave collection that I'm very happy with. But he's just cool. His design is badass. He looks like a ninja with a cassette player for a chest. Really, and he was voiced by Dr. Claw. That's auto-tuned. And you can't beat that. And like I said, in a group of evil people, of evil robots, like Starscream always turning on Megatron, he actually showed loyalty. He could probably have taken out most of the Decepticons by himself. But he was down for the cause, so I admire that about him.
Just the whole gimmick of him turning into a boombox and then having like the cassette tapes as like little minions and stuff.
It was brilliant.
That was really cool.
Like, he was so badass. In fact, the Autobots had to fucking copy him and make a blaster or boombox with his own cassettes to counteract him.
I thought he was like a giant snake thing that.
No, that Shockwave who
And Craig just went through the wall.
That's Shockwave who wrote a giant serpent in one of the fucking Michael Bay movies. No, in Michael Bay, they imagined him more as a spaceship that tentacle raped satellites.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, Soundwave, the best Transformer of all time. He is my favorite, and he's my favorite giant robot.
You want me to go next?
What you got, Craig?
Yeah, so I went back and forth between between Voltron and Shogun Warriors.
Oh, okay.
But I ended up going with Voltron.
Of course.
You made my wife very happy.
Voltron was an American anime-style cartoon from the 80s. It was adapted from Japanese anime, which I'm kind of surprised that neither of the first two seasons were based on two different anime, and I kind of thought you might talk about them when you were going through your history, and you didn't touch on either one. The first season was adapted from an anime called Beast King Go Lion, and the second season was adapted from a series called The Armored Fleet. So I haven't watched those two anime to know how they tie in, but apparently the storylines or something.
It's also just probably, as far as them adapting it, like what they did like Macross and I forget what the second series that made Robotech. It was more just like, because like the robots didn't match, but maybe some of the spacesuits were similar. So they would literally just cut and paste for other armies while still going back to like the original animal one to show the Voltron lions. Little stuff like techniques like that is what they would do. That's how they did Macross. And I didn't even know that about Voltron.
Yeah. So basically it's a story of 5 kids that each pilot a different colored mechanical lion robot. And when things get tough, the 5 lions combine into a giant sword wielding robot, as you know, these things tend to do. I mean, who doesn't really love giant sword wielding robots?
The people they're hitting with their giant swords.
I mean, you shouldn't do evil if you don't want to be hit with a giant sword.
I'm just really thinking about it. I wonder, because of that old anime, I wonder how that original anime is. I wonder if that came before or after Super Sentai.
Well, I think Super Sentai was in the 70s. Did you say 80s for that, or did you say 80s for Voltron?
80s for Voltron is what it was. I want to say 84 and 85 is when it came out. Right. And it was the most popular kids cartoon on during those 2 years, believe it or not. So I'm really kind of perplexed why it only got 2 seasons. But back in the 80s, a lot of cartoons were made to sell toys and only got a couple of seasons. Yeah. Transformers,
they didn't realize how big it was going to be.
Right.
So they probably didn't want to put a lot of money into it.
And then, of course, Netflix a few years ago started a relaunch of it, and I've watched the first season. I haven't had a chance to watch the next 2 seasons, but I really enjoyed the first season.
They have been pumping out seasons. They're on like 5 or 6.
Are they really?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I haven't figured out the answer to my question yet, but I just saw on the wiki real quick that the second season, is from a different anime. Right. That was when Voltron went into vehicles, not lions.
Gotcha.
So that's how they got away.
Gotcha.
with it. Okay. I answered that question. I'm still going to look up what came first.
So that was mine.
Yeah, very cool. But Voltron's an absolute classic. Like, I never had the toys, but I watched that cartoon a lot growing up.
Yeah, there's a badass one right now at the local comic book store that somebody else is buying. But
look up Go Line, because I got the date for 75 for Super Sentai.
81. So yeah. Cool. Super Sentai came before Voltron. Or Go.
And I actually, I guess I'll go ahead and mention this. I was saying Spider-Man's robot wrong. It's Leopardon, not Leopardon.
Okay.
But I also found out this week that Spider-Man came before Super Sentai, and it was actually the influence that made Super Sentai have giant transforming robots.
I like Leopard on better.
I still think that when referencing giant robots, we have to always say part on, hard on.
Well, and one of the reasons why it's called Leopardon is because it was a transforming robot, and its spaceship mode was supposed to look like a leopard.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I guess
What do you have, Caleb?
you want me to go. So this one, when we were preparing for this, I was kind of nervous because I thought it was going to be difficult because I'm not that big. I was thinking I wasn't that big of a giant robots fan. So that's why I was like, okay, like what am I going to talk about? I was completely wrong. What I shortly realized is that it was difficult because I love giant robots. Mm. And so I went through a number of things trying to, I thought about talking about Met Cadet U, which is the all ages book by Greg Pak. I thought about talking about ROM Space Knight, which is a book that was invented to sell toys. Micronauts, which are not giant robots, but they're like giant robots in the microverse. Mech Warriors for old school stuff. Yeah, I love those. But what I finally boiled down to is that my favorite robot comes out of a movie that is titled after his name, and it's the Iron Giant. Yes. It's Iron Giant. It was an animated film produced by Warner Brothers. It was directed by Brad Bird. So it's no secret. Anybody who listens to the show, and you guys especially, you guys know that I'm a big fan of pulp, of pulp style things. The mid 20th century America is one of my favorite eras as far as like literature goes. And this book fits solidly, or this film fits solidly into that wheelhouse. The story has a number of layers that I think anybody can appreciate, or it can be appreciated across all ages. So you have kids who just see this as a story of friendship and really big cool robots, and that's why it's awesome. And you should not be adverse to things that are different than you on first sight. That's the base layer of what this show gets into. A solid reason to love it. And if that's the reason you love it, then that's great. That's a good thing. But if you dig deeper, if you're a fan of history, if you're a fan of literature, if you're a fan of metaphor in a lot of ways, this film has so many layers that it's ridiculous. So the deeper textual themes of government overreach and the military the military push towards action when it may not necessarily be necessary. That's in there, and I think that's fascinating. This Rockwellian concept of rural America. There's a reason that they named the town Rockwell. It's an homage to Norman Rockwell, who did the Saturday Evening Post covers for so long during the Red Scare, and that kind of gave people this idea of the great American dream, the great American rural life, of the everyman in America, which in fairness was not the everyman of America, but it was it calmed people down at a time when they needed it the most. The depiction of the Kerouacian counterculture movement is fascinating to me. So the hippie in this, the beatnik Dean, is a throwback to a character from Jack Kerouac's book On the Road. The character in there was Dean Moriarty, but in that book, it was a literary representation for Neil Cassidy, he was a beatnik. He was one of those like white dudes who listened to a lot of jazz and yeah, man, it's the beat, you jive, you dig. He was one of those guys that really appropriated a lot of African American jazz culture, but made it white and so therefore cool in that world. But did a lot of drugs. He actually lived with the Grateful Dead for a long time. And was part of this like San Franciscan counterculture movement that gave us things like the Mamas and the Papas, the Grateful Dead, Jim Morrison, all those guys. The film gives a really rich insight into what was happening in a post-World War II America through this sudden appearance of this giant robot who, he comes and he's trying to consume. He just wants to eat metal. He's like a child. He doesn't know his purpose. He's been damaged. And he's very innocent at the start of the movie, but in many ways, what he comes to find out is that he has a number of quote unquote self-defense mechanisms that can be very dangerous to the main child in the film and the main town of the film, especially when juxtaposed towards a military element that can literally wipe everyone off the surface of the planet. And I think he's a metaphor for that. So when we think of the American military system, who we have a defense department. We have this reactionary force that sometimes reacts in ways that are unnecessary or do a lot more potential damage than what they can do. So what happens when that system meets the better version of itself in this Iron Giant who can, with the blink of an eye, erase, just leave a smoldering heap of ash, and do to America what arguably the American military system has done to so many other third world countries. And so that to me is fascinating. But at the end of the day, it's a giant robot. Like at the end of the day, it's just a large monster who he's not a monster. He's not just a weapon. He's more than that. He's not a gun. And it just gets into the spirit of what I think a kid's show can do, is go beyond itself. And also he eats cars. So,
by the end, it's been a long time since I've watched this movie. Wasn't by the end he was calling himself Superman or something?
He was, because at the in the film, the main kid is like trying to get to know the robot, and he shows him all of these comic books, and of course one of them is Atomo, the evil giant robot, and you see it, you can see it in his limited facial expressions. He's disappointed because he's like, I don't want to be that. And then he shows him Superman. He shows him this copy of Action Comics, and I forget off the top of my head. I saw it last night, and I'm like, ooh, I know that one. But it was an early version of Action Comics where it shows Superman. So as he goes to this scrapyard, he finds this giant S, which is like from a Shell station or something like that, and puts it on his chest as this kind of logo, and he's what Superman should be. He's the all-powerful being that looks out for the little man. He's gone beyond this notion of what I can be to what I want to be. And I think that's fascinating.
You know who voiced the robot?
I don't.
Oh, really?
No. Vin Diesel.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
They had a huge article on it whenever he started voicing Groot because of his one short dialogue there, and they were like, well, that's not the only one. You might not know this, but he's also...
No, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You stay, I go.
Anytime I get to talk about Jack Kerouac in terms of a child film, I'm going to take it. So.
It was a fantastic movie.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. Watched it. We watched it again last night just so I could talk about it today.
Yeah. It's amazing. But all right. Thanks for doing all your research, guys. And
that was fun, man.
Yeah, giant robots.
So I don't think we're going to have a first of the month episode next month because it's December, and we're going to have something at the first of the month that kind of gears towards the gift giving spirit of the holiday season. We haven't decided what quite that's going to be yet. In January, we're going to be doing our best of 2018 lists. So I think starting in February again, we're going to kick back off on the pick a month, or we're going to roll our dice. We're going to see who wins. Maybe Jerry's going to get it again. Who knows?
Not likely.
So we'll see how nice the dice are. So look forward to that. And, if you have any ideas of what we can do, we've got a few things cooking up. But if you have any ideas of what you would like to see as far as like a gift-giving episode or just something like a holiday season special at the 1st of December, let us know. We're not going to talk about it before December because Christmas, Hanukkah, nothing happens until after fucking Thanksgiving. So, I refuse.
Right.
Well, all right. So look forward to that. But right now, we got business to attend.
Yeah.
You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
Let's get smothered, covered, and comics. So if you've been listening to the show the past few months, we've kind of switched up our format a little bit where we were all coming with our one comic that I think what it was happening is no one else had read it. And so it was us talking to the three other guys at the table, and explaining to them most of the time a comic that they hadn't read. We wanted a roundtable on stuff to kind of get some back and forth and some different interpretations of books that we read. And so that's what we've been doing. And so this week, what we have decided to roundtable on is a book that came out last Wednesday, and it's the Marvel Knights 20th anniversary special.
Oh, good. I read the right book.
Issue number 1. It's by Donnie Cates, on the writing duties, who's been just crushing it at Marvel. He's just doing so much. Mr. Travel Foreman on the art duties, who again is arguably was my favorite part of this book. And Mr. Friedolfs on the inks, and Milla on the pretty colors. And they made a hell of a team. So who wants to talk about this book first? Who wants to kick us off?
I'll go. First, in case anyone else also felt trepidatious because of the cover, I'm going to address that first. I fucking hate the cover.
Do you?
More specifically, I hate the baby taking a poop face Matt Murdock's making on the cover.
Yeah.
He does look a little stopped.
And that's really what ruins it for me. And because it is designed to draw your attention to it, I feel it's a flawed cover. Because the rest of the cover looks really good. And what the story is about, it tells you what's going on. That fucking face, man. So that's my 50. Now here's the other 50. An amazing fucking story that dragged me in almost immediately. What it is Matt Murdock wakes up, doesn't remember shit. And like I'm trying to get all the details. I'm fighting through this head cold.
He's at Karen's.
Yeah, he's at Karen's. And basically what goes on, the short end of the story without getting into it, is that a lot of heroes are amnesic.
Yeah.
If that's the right word. Like they don't know, like Punisher shows up as a cop.
Mm-hmm.
He's Frank Castle. I'm pretty sure he said he had no memories of ever being the Punisher, never addressed. And there's something going on with a lot of different people are like that. And that's, you can almost, I'm not going to say it's a unique concept, but the way it's written, like you said, is Donnie Cates writing it. So of course it's fantastic. And it draws you in almost immediately to what's going on. And I'm really digging that.
Okay. Craig, how you feel about it, brother?
Yeah, I mean, just touch a little bit more on what Sean said. The the story. It's these apparently Bruce Banner's got his memory, but we don't know if he just woke up early or not. But he's got a list of who's waking up in what order. I'm sure we'll figure out why. But it's not just the good guys; also the bad guys have lost their memories. The villains as well. For instance, Bullseye doesn't remember who he is. Wilson Fisk is back in charge of some section of New York, but he doesn't really know why. He's just doing it because it feels right. So, it's a very, as Sean said, it just kind of grabs you from the beginning. You got Matt Murdock laying on on Karen's grave, kind of caressing the tombstone and filling her name on the tombstone. And why am I here? Why does it hurt to even say your name type thing? So it grabs you instantly. And then you don't really know where it's going until that final page. You're like, oh, well, okay. So
that was kind of where I was with the cover. Because I actually understand like the like emotion that they were trying to convey in his face. He woke up at a tombstone, not remembering who he is, or that he's even fucking blind, or that he has this ability. So it's like he can see the world, but he can't, at the same time. And that's kind of what I got. It was Jeff Shaw that did the cover of it. And it's kind of cool because if you look in the background, Jubilee, there's Wolverine.
Almost everyone in
Jean
the
Grey,
crowd is somebody. Yeah. Going
Tony
about
Stark,
their life.
Yeah. So it's really, that was really interesting. And if I'm not mistaken, from what it sounded like, when Bruce goes to sleep, that maybe something happens with the Hulk. Maybe the Hulk remembers, and all of the writings and stuff that he get of all the memories is coming from that.
So
it says very childlike writing.
Yeah.
From the aspect of the Hulk, the daytime is Banners, the nighttime is the Hulk. So that's throwback, and they're doing a lot of that with the Immortal Hulk right now. But that's essentially why, like, 'cause when the sun goes down, the Hulk personality takes over. It's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty, because like at one point Matt is like, I got to get out of here. He's running from the Punisher. He goes to the one place that he can find solace, which was his law firm, and nobody there remembers him.
Right.
And it's just, that was, cause like, you're thinking, okay, they're gonna know who he is. Foggy's gonna know who he is. They all forgot him too.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that whole Westworld thing of, this doesn't look like anything to me, whenever he hands them his, bar card or whatever. Yeah. And, we can see all of Matt's information on it, but when Foggy looks at it, there's nothing there.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's wild.
And you see another representation of that when he meets the Fantastic Four, and he can see them as themselves, but if you look at the reflections in the window, they're just people.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got that, almost House of M thing, where like people are slowly like they don't remember anything. They're going about like their life or whatever. And then all of a sudden an event happens and it sparks all those memories. And like, I know you're probably going to talk about that panel where he remembers. Yes. Yeah. And I thought that was just brilliant.
So let's get into that panel. Yeah. So I guess I'll take this now.
Yeah.
I think you all enjoyed the story a little bit more than I did. I just kind of felt like I was just along for the ride, because there's nothing in here to kind of contextualize what has happened, and that's going to come. Like, that's part of the mystery. And so, not knowing that information, I'm not sure what to do with it. So I kind of feel like I'm just on for the ride, but it's a ride I want to go on. So I like the art in this a lot better than I liked the story. I don't understand what triggered his mimetic moment of him getting these memories back was realizing that he was wearing the Daredevil costume under his clothes. The man has super senses. He's got a superior sense of touch. He's got superior, sound, hearing. He would have known that he had this skin tight suit on under those clothes. Like, I don't understand why he just realized it when he opened up his shirt. Like, that didn't work for me. I realized what he was doing. It just didn't work for me. But the art in this really sucks me in. I love Travel Foreman. I think he does a kick-ass job. There is one page in this where it's the moment that Jerry was talking about. It's meant to seem like this echolocation, Daredevil kind of thing, to where after he rips his shirt on, realizes he has a suit underneath, he gets that memory back. And in the circles of the Doppler effect, the dude does like 10 different artistic styles that is an homage to so many different artists who have worked on the Daredevil canon. It's gorgeous. You can see Frank Miller in there. You can see Kirby in there. You can see so much of the different these different artistic takes or interpretations of the character that he does in one panel. It is gorgeous. I don't know who owns this page, if Travel's keeping it for himself, but Christmas is coming up, so if you need my address, let me know, because I would love to own this. It goes from everything from just cartooning to Alex Ross realism in the bottom side. It's phenomenal. But as the story goes on, you get into, like you said, Bullseye doesn't know who he is. He's still like he feels like he's an assassin. We've seen this before. Like Jerry said, there's a kind of House of M thing going on. We just did Avengers Standoff not too long ago where there was an entire like city that S.H.I.E.L.D. was using of like mind-wiped people, and I don't know if they're going to play with something like that. We don't know. There's too many questions right now for me to really say. I trust Donny Cates. I trust that he's going to give us the twist that we need to get the full understanding of what is happening. I would have liked a hint or two, and maybe there were, and I just missed it.
I think it's on the last page.
You think it's on the last page?
Well, like I said, are we gonna get into spoilers?
Yeah, I think we can.
Right, spoilers
throughout the rest of the show.
They mentioned a machine. I believe it was when Fisk was talking to Dr. Doom, who apparently is responsible for all this.
Right.
He mentioned it. He goes, "Why don't you operate the machine?" Because there's a dragon wrapped around it. I'm thinking Fing Fang Foom. Mm-hmm. So like, there's something big on it. And apparently, it's a device. I'm thinking is what they're implying, that Doom fucked with something he probably shouldn't have been,
right,
and caused this.
Well, and like Craig said, you want to talk about the last page there, Craig?
No, go ahead.
Last page is what hooked me into getting the next issue.
Oh, I'm definitely getting the next issue. So it is, in fact, Dr. Doom, which like all in the story, I felt like, okay, this reeks of Dr. Doom. Like, this is absolutely something. And we know Doom is not necessarily the best of people again. On the last page, he's standing there and he says they will know only Doom, but he's flanked by Crossbones and Taskmaster. Yes. And holy shit. Like that. Yeah, no, if you're thinking Marvel Knights, if you're thinking of these characters, from the 20 years ago, from the, what was it, an 8-issue or 12-issue miniseries they did? Yeah. These are the villains I want to see. Most definitely. I'm looking forward to issue 2 because I hope there is enough in issue 2 to make me go back and see that this is a home run. Right now, it's a solid triple. When I said that you guys liked the story more than I did, I'm not saying I didn't like it. There were things that I was left wanting, and I think that's part of what he meant to do.
Well, I think in sequential art, on the first issue, that's generally what you do.
Right.
You get a hook in them, and you want them wanting the second issue, and I think that's what this book did. I think the machine that was talked about, of course, is going to be a big part of this. I'm not sure on the dragon. I love Fing Fang Foom, so I hope it's him. But it could also be the dragon from
Iron Fist.
No, the Fear thing that they did with Thor a few years back.
Oh yeah, The dragon from Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be something of that nature. And remember, this is all alternate reality, so it's not taking place in the
that's
main
what
continuity.
that's what I wonder if it's that, or if it's going to be a twist on something that we've seen before.
Well, a part of the story I'm enjoying, and surprisingly enough so, because like I said, like what you also commented, that amnesia is a kind of a trope almost at this point where forget memories. But like, I don't know why, something about seeing Frank Castle as a cop, it's kind of that like what could have been if the tragedies that or things that always made them into heroes and villains didn't happen. Where would they go?
Yeah,
just seeing the Fantastic Four as normal people walking down the street, seeing Frank Castle as a police officer. Just like, to me, that's interesting. I want to see more in the universe of what these people are doing now that they're not heroes.
It's unsettling, right? Yeah. Because we know Frank Castle is a mass murderer. Like, whether or not you like you can read The Punisher as a power fantasy, absolutely, because it's one of the best ones to do that with. But at the end of the day, so we drive around Little Rock and we always see those the thin blue line stickers on the back of people's cars, and it's support LRPD, which you should support your cops. I've got no issue with that. But it's always the Punisher symbol with the blue line, and I'm like, you guys haven't read the Punisher,
right?
Because the Punisher kills cops. Like, so like if you're trying to use this symbolism as it's misplaced, because Frank Castle doesn't let law and order work itself out. If he finds out a cop is corrupt, he's putting a bullet on him. Right. That's always baffled me. So seeing Frank Castle as an actual cop in this, as an enforcement of the law, and who largely is the connecting thread between the rest of the issues, is very, very interesting on that.
And just the I've been calling this character by her superhero name salon. I forgot her real name in the book when she popped up, but in Foggy's office, there's Jen Walters is in there.
She-Hulk.
Yeah, and like I didn't connect this to Jen Walters or whatever. Like, okay, then she grabbed Matt, and he saw her hand just go a little bit green. He's like, and he's like wincing at the pain. I'm like, oh fuck, She-Hulk works for Foggy, works with Foggy.
Yeah,
that's
and I'm assuming
awesome.
that everybody sees her as human as we did in the panel, but Matt probably saw her as the She-Hulk.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in this book contextually. There's a lot of layers that we have to dig through.
Give Donnie Cates the 3 or 4 issues and your mind will be blown.
Oh no doubt. I'm on board. This is on my pull list. I want this. I hope to see them bring in some of the other Marvel Knight characters. Like, we know we're getting Elektra on the next issue, because they're, number one, in the book there's a list of people he's working his way down, and you see some of the other people that he's already gone and talked to and not necessarily had that much luck with. But in the next issue thing, we see him and Elektra together on a panel. I hope they give us other Marvel Knight characters like Moon Knight and Blade. I would love to see them give us, well, I want to say Alias, but Jessica Jones. Yeah, my brain shut the fuck off for a minute. I would love to see those characters, Ghost Rider, to see what they do in this world. And I'm sure we're going to get it. So it's on my pull list for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, same,
pick it up,
same
guys.
for me. It's Donnie Cates. I can't say no.
Yeah, and to the comment on the cover, I didn't like the cover either, Sean. But for me, it wasn't because of Jeff Shaw's lines. It was because of whoever did the color in the book. Like, the color for me is what throws it off. I don't
actually, and like I said, I get the cover, especially once you know the story. The cover makes absolute sense and it's well done. I just feel like the face isn't. I don't know what he's trying to say with that, with Matt Murdock's face. I get the blind, like the stare. I don't know. It's just, it comes off wrong from the minute I saw it in the previews. And then seeing it in person, like, it's well drawn. I just think it's an odd face. Like, it's just, it's not, I can't read what they're trying to tell me off that face.
I want to know when Jubilee got an emo-over.
When she became a vampire, maybe?
Yeah, I mean,
that's the thing.
Alternate reality, so it could be.
Hey, without the X-Men telling her what to do, maybe she went emo.
So, go pick up the book.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Cover aside, interiors are fucking beautiful. I love the art on the inside. Just the cover rubbed me the wrong way.
Travel Foreman is the truth. Loves him.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Absolutely. Sean, what'd you read this week, brother?
As I alluded to earlier, my book of the week is Runaways number 15. This again written by Rainbow Rowell, who I believe has been writing it since the restart of this new series. With the current artist now is Chris Anka, who bring a more cartoony style to it. It took a couple issues to get used to, admittedly, but I'm digging the art as well. This one is Nico Minoru heavy. This is Sister Grimm, as I mentioned earlier when she was my Avenger. Yep, she is my favorite Runaway. And this book, you get deep into her. If you don't know what she's about, she has a staff that's been in her family for generations that once she cuts herself, it appears out of her chest, and she can cast any spell by saying one word. But it's always been the thing about you can only use that one word once and it won't work again. So she always had that limit. And she's kind of feeling like, at this point, she's been an Avenger. I think she's even been off planet. I need to go back and find those books that she's in because they're alluding to it a lot now.
Right.
And she's been fighting the fight for a while, and she's running out of words. And so while she still has the powers and she still has a few ways of still saying something, she's starting to feel a little weaker, and they know they're encountering a big problem now. So she's having her doubts. And this happens to come on the day when Earth and Mars align perfectly in space. And when she summoned her staff, a man appeared instead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
have you, Craig, you're on.
I have not read it yet.
Read it? Spoiler.
No, it's fine.
This man explains that centuries ago, her ancestor and him battled as sorcerers, and he lost. And so she imprisoned him as the staff for the family. And he's allowed, only when Mars and Earth aligns, which I think is like every few hundred years, he can come back as himself and plead his case to either change the contract or be freed. And he goes into the long history about what he's about. And like, Nico at this point is like, I don't even want to be a fucking sorcerer anymore. I'm tired of fighting. Maybe I'll just let you go free. In which case he turns, I'm like, not even a hesitant of a second, but going, yes, and I will rule this world and my powers will grow strong. It's like, okay, no, I'm not free.
Actually, second thought.
You can't be free. And then he's like, and he offers her a change of contract. Because right now it's just simply you have to do some bloodletting, which is his sacrifice. I guess that's what his magic's kind of based around, to enact him. And it's also her family line of like drawing blood, as the witches they are. Instead, and she talks about like, I'm running out of words. And he's like, you don't understand the full power. In a sense. And he's like, tell you what, we'll change up things. How about it instead instead of drawing your blood, you let a little bit of me into you every time you use the staff.
Giggity.
Right. And to which she's still like, that sounds fucked up.
Yeah.
But if this is going to change, make me more useful. It's kind of like she's just feeling useless to the team because she's out of words. She feel like this is going to, like, they don't really flat out say it, but I think what this basically means is he's going to be able to manipulate her maybe a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be a dark story.
She's going to go Dark Phoenix on us eventually, but I'm thinking this is eliminating the one word problem.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm putting her on my Avenger team. I think she's about to get majorly fucking powered up by this. And I think that the change of contract is no longer limited to words. She's about to get full powered, but I think eventually he's going to start controlling her. And we saw one glorious panel of him just going straight mad scientist in one panel with the thought of being free. So this is a bad choice, but it ain't going to happen immediately.
Well, so, I mean, in DC especially, but in all comics, I mean, even in Marvel, magic comes at a cost.
Yeah.
So, you know, her cost has always been that she's been limited by knowledge of, you know, I mean, read a thesaurus and get some more words, but
she has, man.
She's
out of synonyms.
What if she uses other languages?
Can't remember if they tried. I want to say they tried that, but like I said, she was an Avenger fighting cosmic beings.
Yeah.
She's running out of ways to say fireball, and you know what I mean. Yeah. There's always so many synonyms. So like, and she's also, like I said, she's just tired of, like, I think out of everyone on the Runaways, she's the only one. Her and you know, the only one that became an Avenger, I think, has really done anything outside of the Runaways being a group. So this is going to be a change up for her. And Victor, he's just a cyborg head right now.
Right.
But so this was very neat.
So they're changing the cost from her having a limited magic set to, okay, you're going to have
I'm thinking
powerful one, but it's coming at a cost of your soul slowly.
I don't, unless I'm just not remembering, it didn't specifically say that, but I feel like that was what's kind of implied. Like, we're going to change your abilities, but instead, a little bit of me is going to be a part of you now.
Yeah.
And I
sounds
think
like it's going to slowly cost her soul.
Yeah, basically. Even she's not dumb. She's like, I'm still only going to use you in absolute emergencies. Like, she's not dumb about it, but that was more agreeable to her than what's been going on.
It would seem like at some point they would, with this story, and I'll be surprised if they don't do it, where she has to go visit the Sorcerer Supreme, like at the Sanctum Sanctorum. Yeah. Like, I mean, so that's always what baffles me about the magic side of Marvel, is that you actually have you have a magic boss.
Right.
Like you have
There's a hierarchy.
Like, yeah, so you have Doctor Strange.
But currently he's off planet.
That's true, yeah.
Well, he just got back to planet, but we don't know where this is. We don't know where this is in relations to that. So.
Right.
But so when, like, as somebody who's such a big fan of the Scarlet Witch, like, it constantly baffles me that, I've got to go fix magic, and your first stop isn't to essentially the commissioner of magic, isn't going to Doctor Strange.
See, I've never understood Scarlet Witch because I always thought hers was a mutant based. I mean, I know there's some natural magic there, but it's enhanced by her mutant abilities.
Yeah.
So hers is always to me a little bit different than the other.
Well, but she also is a practicing witch. Like that's her whole thing. She's Roma.
Right.
So.
Right. But with Nico, at least, like I said, I didn't read her time in the Avengers, and honestly, I was kind of surprised when I found out she was an Avenger, considering how the entire Runaways thing is they don't want to deal with the other people.
Well, I think her and Victor joined.
Okay.
After, and I think it was in the New Avengers at the end of Bendis's run on New Avengers.
Right. Well, as far as like, I was going with that though was like maybe that's why she hasn't gone to see Doctor Strange, because they don't really like any of the other
They don't
heroes.
like authority.
They don't like to have to answer to anybody. So she figures she'll solve it on her own. But like I said, this was
meddling kids.
Right. This was a central focus on Nico and her current issues going on with her magic. So it was, to me, it was a very good issue. And like I said, the little things from just like the reveal of what the power of the staff comes from, to the fact that once every 100,000 years, whatever, that he can come back out. He wants to go eat pancakes on Earth. That's his treat. So she had to go take him to eat pancakes, and then they discussed the issue.
I kind of like that motif, because it's not always done very well, where they're like, well, this character's ability, has the potential to eventually run out, or like, we want to make it stronger or something like that. And some people would just be like, well, now it's like this just because. And it's almost like just
like
a
heated
retcon.
Claws.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Spawn dying, beating Satan, and then come back with no power limiter.
Yeah. So, but like, this sounds really fluid, and like they really thought this out.
Like contractual thing with witchcraft, making a deal with the devil in a sense. All that. So yeah, absolutely.
It's
I
really
like
awesome.
that there's a cost for her power. It's one of the, Nico's one of my favorite Runaways, if not my favorite Runaway as well. And I do like that there is a cost now for her using. I mean, there's always been the cost of her having to draw her own blood, and it's been, if I'm not mistaken, in this new series, it's been hurting her more and more every time she's had to do it.
Right, like even though she has to cut herself, it also, like, the staff emerging has been kind of causing her issues.
I mean, to the point where she won't return the staff sometimes. If she feels like she's going to be using it again soon, she won't return it back into her body. So,
but yeah, that's my book of the week.
Yeah, it's a good job,
man. What'd you read this week, Greg?
Yeah, so I read Green Lantern #1. Of course, DC, Grant Morrison, Liam Sharp, and Steve Oliff on the covers. The first thing I want to say about this book is the art. It is fucking amazing in this book. The 90s kind of get some bad rap for art, but one thing that the late 80s and early 90s really did well in comics, I'm thinking like Watchmen style, is all the depth in the panels besides just the main character, the story that's being told in the background. And that's what you get in this book. Every panel is so full of depth and in art that it just sucks you in. And I just loved, I can't talk enough about the art in this book. And colored just absolutely beautiful. So this book starts with some Green Lantern. I'm not sure. You know who he is, Jerry? Because he didn't draw.
He seems like a new character.
Yeah, he felt like a new character to me, and he's fighting Arachnosapiens because Grant Morrison, and
because Grant Morrison is.
Well, here's how they beat the Arachnosapien.
Did he eliminate these creatures?
This is how he beats this particular bad Arachnosapien. His partner is a Green Lantern virus that infects him and makes him shit himself down all 8 legs.
Yeah.
And he tells him he'll give him the antidote to his partner.
Now he's been in it for a while.
Yeah.
The virus one.
Yeah. So he will give him the antidote if he'll squeal on who stole this stuff. And it turns out it's a luck device from a casino. And they give it to another Green Lantern who takes off with it. Well, this new Green Lantern then goes to another planet and is attacked by someone made of antimatter. Which I think plays into another panel here in just a little bit in this. So, and he's killed. So he starts, 4 pages later, he's dead. Okay. The guy with the Lek device and the criminals is taking him back to New Oa. They crash his ship on Earth. And then it transfers to Earth. And you have Hal Jordan, who is living a normal everyday life, and you're like, what the fuck? He just got fired from a gas station. He's got a new girlfriend you don't know anything about. You're like, when did this happen? What the hell's going on? And so he's hanging out on the side of the road, just chilling, watching the day go by. And this kind of redneck looking guy comes up to him and picks a fight. Turns out he's an alien and his friends are aliens, but they're a hive mind alien, and he punches them in the brain and they all merge back together. Hal Jordan beats him without ever using his power ring, and you're going, why the fuck wouldn't he power up? So then he goes to find out how these aliens got here. He finds the crashed Green Lantern ship, and he's like, oh, well, I'll help you, but the Guardians have my power battery. They're giving it an upgrade. And the guy's like, oh, well, here, charge using mine. So he charges his Green Lantern ring, goes off, finds the aliens that stole the Lek device. Turns out it's a fake. The one had made himself so big that he crushed himself under his own weight. He's like a giant beaver creature because Grant Morrison. And yeah, it's crazy. And so then he gets a call on his ring to return to Oa. And he's like, wait, I'm on suspension. What the fuck do you want from me? So now you're finally figuring out that they suspended him for something. So he gets called back. He shows back up.
Probably because he's an asshole.
A little bit.
Yeah, I like the way Morrison's writing him right now because he's still Hal Jordan, but so he shows back up and he's like, well, you guys have me on suspension. What the hell do you want from me? And the Guardian's like, we'll consider this unsuspension. Yeah. And he takes him to the library where the Book of Oa is. And he's like, everything has changed in the Book of Oa and nothing is what we thought it was. I don't know if you caught this, Jerry, but when they opened the Book of Oa, did you see what the symbol was in it?
I didn't. I just saw the big
blue circle in it is Dr. Manhattan's symbol. And it's radiating out from there through the entire galaxy.
That. Oh, shit.
It's the same symbol that's on his forehead.
That makes sense.
Symbol.
Yeah.
So now we know why Grant Morrison is writing Green Lantern.
Yep.
Wow.
Because he is the multiverse king for DC. Mm-hmm. And it's no coincidence that this is starting with 6 issues of Doomsday Clock left.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the way they've been tying everything in the DC universe right now, that to me was the biggest reveal in that entire book.
Well, and it makes sense because you had Metal where the source wall broke, and then you've had all of this stuff happening with the Green Lantern universe in terms of going to the source wall and fixing stuff. So I've been waiting on them to bring in the Doomsday Clock aspect of it to the Green Lantern thing, because that to me it always has seemed like the perfect entry point for that into the cosmic side of things. You've been getting it in Batman, you've been getting it in Flash. So
and the fact that Manhattan won't come back to Earth.
Yeah.
In this shows, again, it's his symbol in the center of the book, and then it's radiating. It's very purposely drawn as it's radiating out from him, or from the symbol. So basically, they want him to go find the killer. I mean, the rest of the story is inconsequential. They want him to go find the antimatter person that killed the other Green Lantern. I think we're going to find out the antimatter guy is also going to be Dr. Manhattan.
Well, and one of the things that they talked about, and I'll just go ahead and say, like, whenever I read the 2-page or 3-page preview, I wasn't sold on it per se. But
it was a little scene where he was talking to the alien that crash landed, and it felt very much like a Abbins, like him getting his ring again.
And then I open up the first page of this, and all the colors, and all the stuff that they showed.
The art sold it to me.
Yeah.
I have a question about the art, because I've asked this on other groups and haven't gotten an answer back. Mm-hmm. When I open this up, I love Sharp. I think it's great. and I mean this as a compliment. I said this, and I think people thought I was kind of like being a trollish person because I don't know why, but a lot of people don't like this other guy's art. But did anybody else think that this reminded them of like 90s era Brian Hitch work?
Yeah, the whole book reminded me of late 80s, early 90s. Not the over-exaggerated muscles of the 90s.
No, yeah.
But just the depth and the color and to me, it was very reminiscent of 90s artwork and comic book. So whether it was Brian Hitch or, I can't think of the guy that was in Watchmen right off the top of my head.
Dave Gibbons.
Yeah, or Dave Gibbons. It reminds me, for me, it was Watchmen-esque. And I think that also is on purpose. I think everything about this book is on purpose. There's a very... Because I thought, man, Grant Morrison writing Green Lantern is, to me, a little bit of a... It felt like a weird connect. But now I understand why. And I love Green Lantern. I loved it before Jeff Johns. I've only moderately liked it after Jeff Johns. It's been very, very average. Sometimes good stories, but for the most part, they kept telling the same story with a different bad guy. This is the first Green Lantern book I've read since the end of the Jeff Johns era that I've been like, holy fuck. Right. I love this Green Lantern's book. Or Green Lantern in this case. So,
and the thing with me as well, because maybe I need to go back and read it, but it almost seemed like they were hinting at him being the murderer, because the very last panel I thought looked almost like a cyborg version of him.
Yeah,
because they had the real dial, right? The real luck dial, and they were.
I forget what they called that guy, but
because that was on the same ship. With the one that died, the lantern that died.
Yeah, so maybe it was. Now I thought it might have something to do with Manhattan as well, but I don't know.
I mean, I'm absolutely sticking with it. I'm excited about this Green Lantern series. You know, this is the first time I'm excited about Green Lantern.
Was it that guy? Is that who you're talking about? I'm showing Craig a picture right now because I have a question.
No.
Okay, that's not who you're talking. Okay.
No, let me go. I'm going to go grab my book real quick.
Okay. Yeah, I'll show you.
I don't have one.
But
so I guess it's down to me then. I read SparrowHawk 2, number 2. It was really hard for me to decide this week, but I kind of wanted to take a break from Marvel books because we do those so often. And I've been loving SparrowHawk. It's a Boom Studios series. With writer Delilah S. Dawson, illustrations are Matthias Boslow, colors Rebecca Nalty, and the letterer is Jim Campbell. But it's just been really great in my opinion. It's kind of got a very Alice in Wonderland feel, but it's more violent. You get your main character Artemisia, or Art as we find out her nickname is, falls into this world. Meets this thing called an Unseelie called Crispin, which is like an evil fairy. She's in this domain. She goes to seek vengeance on this Unseelie that murdered this little creature. And the last book essentially ended with her gaining new abilities, because the way that you get stronger in this world is you have to slay things and gain their power. So this book picks up.
Can there be only one?
It seems like it at this point. I'm sure if you went and killed everything in this world, you'd be a god. So Art's whole thing is trying to figure out, how to get out of this world. Crispin is telling her that you need to kill things to gain powers to get out of this place. So we pick up in this book, and he's basically like, something's coming. And we got to get out of this territory. You find out that this thing that she just killed was part of the Wild Hunt, and they're all like brothers, and they're gonna come for her because she just killed their brother. So Crispin leads her away, like gets her to pick up his weapon, and leads her away. One of the really cool things that I really like about this artist and how they're doing the layout and the panels is they do that thing where you get like a full page of the area, like they're climbing on this tree, And as they're talking, it shows, they're like them as they're going down. And she's like talking, and it just kind of gives you that sense of like they're moving. Because, it shows multiple versions of them as they're going. And I really, really dug that. They run into this other character who goes by the name Warren. Crispin's trying to he's got some kind of ulterior motives of making her stronger. It's not sure what they are, but he's basically, hey, kill this, kill that, kill all these things so you could get stronger and whatever. You find out that Warren is an Unseelie, and he's got some deeper connections in this land, but he's a pacifist. Like, he doesn't believe in all this. But apparently he's, seems crazy strong. He looks kind of like a dark elf-ish, almost emo dark elf. He's kind of talking to her. Crispin's telling, her to kill him, and he's like, why? Like, I could have killed you if I wanted to, and I didn't. And she just kind of dubs like, well, he hasn't attacked me, so, so she's trying to get more information out of him about this place. And they happen into this grove, and there's all these little like goblin guys running around, and Crispin's like, hey, easy prey, just destroy all these. And they're like all happy little things. And then, she's like, are they evil? And Warren's like, no, they're not. And no, you shouldn't kill them. And then Crispin's like, well, you know what, actually, because he starts sniffing around or whatever, he's like, something more your speed is coming. And this huge, like, orange monster comes out, and he's like, got a huge pitchfork, and he's like trying to kill him and eat him and stuff like that. And, Warren's basically like, this is the natural order of things here. This thing still needs to eat. It won't attack you if you don't attack it. And Crispin's starting to play off of her more like altruistic side of like, hey, you want to save these things, right? So go, kill us. And so she goes and she kind of gets into this like fight with it and slices it open. And it was kind of almost comedic how it happened, and just to show you that it's a real world. Cause instead of like guts and stuff, like it splits open like it's just, made out of like, just like a costume or something. And all these little goblin guys are still alive, and they're just like running out all over the place, like they're free and everything from this cage. As soon as that happens, she passes out and has a vision of Warren mourning this monster, and he's saying, somebody's got to mourn it. And he also kind of hints at the deal that she made with Crispin of taking one of her memories. And he's like, I don't know why you'd ever want to forget, somebody that cared about you or something. Well, when she wakes up, she's changed again, from the last book. And there's like all these little goblin things that are around a bonfire, and the goblin things are celebrating, and then something pops out of the woods that we're gonna have to deal with next issue. And like I said, I really love the color palette that they've been using. I love this story of this girl making her way through this world. I really want to know, it just feels like 5 issues doesn't feel enough to me to tell all of the story that I want to know about this world and her journey and everything. But I'm just really, really excited about this book. I'm glad I signed up for it. The covers have been amazing. It's been really good. Have any of you guys been reading it?
I read the first issue. The second issue's on my pile to read, but it's so much fun so far. So I'm excited to see where it goes too.
Yeah.
No, this one completely missed me on my radar of books. I need to go, because it sounds like absolutely something in my wheelhouse. So I definitely need to go check it out.
Yeah, I'm just I always love a good take on, going from like the real world to like a fantasy world
for sure
type thing. That's always kind of appealed to me, and just having sort of this Alice in Wonderland twist.
Some of my favorite stories, films have been that. You already said Alice in Wonderland, but talk about films like Guillermo del Toro's. Of course,
Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth, which is a lot. It's a very similar thing to that.
They do that a lot in like anime and stuff. A lot of the series that Sean and I end up really liking have to do like with that. And it's kind of funny though, in that aspect, most of the characters usually die and get reincarnated in this world. So, but that's my book of the week.
In this book, she's killing to get out of the world instead of dying and getting into it. She's killing to get out.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So, what do you got for us, Caleb?
So, Jerry Boo, there's some kismet happening here because I think we were in a little bit of the same place when we picked out our books for the week.
Oh.
Because I too was kind of like, you know what? I've been talking about a lot of Marvel. Mm-hmm. I've been talking about a lot of DC, and even outside of that, I've been talking about a lot of superhero comics. And comics are so much more than that. Comics are, there's so much more to offer than just men in tights. And even though I love those books and there's absolutely nothing wrong with them, I was kind of wanting to talk about something else.
Right.
And so then I saw the book that I'm going to talk about come out. And it, like, the title alone drew me in.
Right.
And it made me want to read it. And the book is called Auntie Agatha's Home for Wayward Rabbits. And it's, so the creative team, one of the members of the creative team is really what drew me in. And so it's actually the writer, but I'm going to save his name for last because I think once I say it, you'll know who and why I want to talk about him. But the book is drawn and colored by individuals that I'm not very familiar with. It was drawn by Benjamin Roman. It was colored by Brian Valenza and Beyond Color Lab, which I guess is just like a work for hire coloring or digital art group. But it was written by Keith Giffen. If you're in comics, you've heard that name before. He's kind of a legend of DC. He worked on things like 52. He has written Legion of Superheroes. He wrote the new 52 Futures End stuff, Countdown to Final Crisis, Justice League, Scooby Apocalypse. The dude is doing everything. He's entrenched in DC lore. So when I saw him, and that's where I know him from, I'm sure he's done other stuff. As I flipped through his DB, he did some Freak Force stuff. He did Battle Royale. He did some Defenders work. So he's done a lot. So his name is, he's entrenched in comics. But when I saw his name on this book, it really piqued my interest because it's out of my wheelhouse of what this person normally writes. It's not something I would associate him with to be a book about not superheroes, which this book inherently was. Like I said, it came out from Image. And so what this book is a look at, the book is it's not an all ages book. It's a teen book, but I think it probably could be read by people who are preteens. So the book takes a look at the life of a young girl named Julie. And she lives on her aunt's farm. We don't really know the situation in the background, but she lives on a farm. And more appropriately, it's a rabbit sanctuary. So it's either a lover of rabbits or somebody who is a rabbit rescuer. And like a lot of these type of books where the child is immersed in this, she talks to the rabbits and the rabbits talk back. So there's a communication thing happening, kind of a Charlotte's Web little analog. And so some of these rabbits, in particular the kind of main one, the main bunny, if you will, is a rabbit named Sawyer. And he's this little purpley grayish rabbit. He has a little tuft of hair on his chest that's shaped like a heart. And he's kind of the main bunny foo-foo character. And so he talks back with her. He's a sarcastic little asshole. He's not happy with the way things are going in his life. He's just kind of a little if I were a rabbit, I would be Stormy. And that just kind of dawned on me. He's just kind of grumpy. But he also has other friends, and there are other little rabbity characters, such as another one who just kind of follows them around and gives them, he uses book quotes to kind of just contextualize what's happening. Just really, really hilarious bunnies. And so basically where this story starts off, I'm doing a very poor job of telling you guys what this is about, and I apologize.
I'm just waiting for the watership down moment.
There's not one. Okay. There's not one in this.
I was waiting for it to turn tragic and sad.
No, so
the military kills all the rabbits.
On this farm, on
one in a suit.
Auntie Agatha's Wayward Home for Rabbits, our young girl is going about her duties of feeding her bunny. She's taking them out lettuce and everything, and Sawyer's like, this again, like, what the hell? Like, and she's like, you're rabbits. What, you don't want carrots and lettuce, maybe some cabbage? Like, what else am I going to feed you? He's like, well, like, some variety. This sucks. And she's like, well, what about the pellets? And he's like, you want us to eat our own poop? And she's like, no, not those kind of rabbit pellets. He's like, well, I don't know about another kind of rabbit pellet. And so she takes them and is like, my Aunt Agatha got on the phone and ordered 7,500 bags of rabbit pellet food. And it's just basically like dried dog food, and I didn't want to give it to you guys. In fact, I took the phone away from Aunt Agatha. She's no longer allowed to order things online. So you get the idea that Aunt Agatha might be having some stuff happening. There's some stuff going on. Maybe she's a little bit older. She's making some poor decisions, and this niece is kind of her caretaker. And so as they go into the barn to show them to show Sawyer the bags of rabbit pellets, you meet another character who is this really grizzled mouse. He's got a scar over his eye. He looks like he's been through some shit. He absolutely has PTSD. And so he's in there talking about, it's all a conspiracy. This rabbit, as they're reading off the ingredients, they're going, what does this mean? Well, I don't know. What does this mean? Well, I don't know. What does that mean? It's ground up rabbits. Well, what does this mean? I don't know. Wait, did you just say ground up rabbits? It's kind of this thing to where if you look at processed animal foods, if you look at what they're feeding chickens and cows, a lot of times it has chicken and cow byproducts in it.
Well, that's why we ended up with mad cow disease.
Exactly. And so you're seeing some of that in here. And so they're looking at it, and the mouse, or the rat, I'm going to say mouse, our little grizzled buddy, he's like, well, yeah, you notice how the only one that doesn't do this is cat food, because the secret cabal of cats is going to slowly try to take over the world. There's all kinds of evil happening. Like, to me, it planted a seed, because they're like, okay, he's just paranoid. As they go about their business, there's another bunny that every step he takes, he's wearing socks on his hands, and he says, thank you, God, for letting me take this step. He's a little OCD and has some problems going on. Anyway, you see that not all the rabbits are in the best of shape. There's a lot of comedic elements to it. So they argue a little bit more, and finally, Julie is like, look, you need to go off and be a rabbit in the rabbit section of the farm. I got to go in the house and do some stuff. So just go away. And so he walks off. He's walking down the porch. He's mumbling to himself, just kind of being pissed off about how, someday it's going to be better and he's going to be recognized as an equal and let in the house and this, that, and the other. When a car pulls up, and these two very large, very intimidating, kind of angry lesbian looking women. Sorry to my lesbians. I love you. You know that. Anyway, they're wearing like business suits with skirts, very 1950s, not looking nice people. And they get out of the car and they walk up to her and they ask her if are you Agatha? And she's like, well, no, Agatha's my aunt. Well, we need to talk about her. Well, no, like, you can't come in my house. Like, who are you, weird government people who just showed up and are making demands and who look very much alike and have names that are like they're speaking in tandem. One of them's name is Naomi, the other one's Raquel, and after they say that, they say, we are Naomi and Raquel. Like, they're very robotic. And so she won't let them in the house, and they are very large and intimidating people, and they just kind of move her. In fact, they smack her around a little bit. These two adults come in this house and kind of toss the girl around. Yeah, it's not cool. And they go in and finally they find Aunt Agatha, who they're looking for. And Aunt Agatha is this, as you might assume, this old decrepit looking woman who is wheelchair bound and actually has to communicate through a robot voice, like on her computer. And she's just shit talking the whole time. Like, she's just, so all you hear is this, like, in the font, is this robot voice saying things like, Julie, come check these people out. Darwin was wrong. And as she's just, like, in her wheelchair shit posting about these people, the farm dog comes in and he's wearing a rabbit mask because he secretly wants to be a bunny.
Of course. So
by the end of it, you get that to be continued moment where they discover her in her wheelchair. You don't know what's going to happen next. I think this is a really interesting take on the story. I like the story. I was a little less appreciative of the art. I think that they are trying to do something. It's a mix of modern cartooning. There's a take of, like, I don't know, the Daria, not Daria. What's the little, say, I don't have kids, so I have bad references for this. The little Latino girl who, goes on adventure. Dora. So you kind of have a little Dora the Explorer cartoonist take on it. I think it was all done digitally, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that they need to do some work on the rendering, so to speak, because there's some moments where it's, some of the facial expressions don't work out so well. They have, the characters have these really big eyes. It's kind of a manga or anime homage, but all in all, seriously fun book. I don't know if I'll keep reading it or not because it's not a book that was necessarily made for me. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm always interested in books that aren't for me or aren't directed at me because especially when they're geared towards a younger audience, I think that we need that. You've got a book with a young girl who is the main character, and I love anthropomorphized animals. I love books where animals talk. So in a way, I'm a mark for it. In another way, I think it was written for an audience who is a little bit younger than I am. Maybe I'm getting older to the point to where I'm missing some references in the book to where there were some jokes that were made that I don't know because I'm not wrapped up in the younger world. Like if you kind of like the kid we were talking to the other day. Well, no, but like the kid we were talking to the other day at the con was telling us all about Fortnite. Fortnite is a national phenomenon or international phenomenon. I know zero things about it. I think that's just an age gap or interest gap. So, I really enjoyed this. I will probably be getting. I don't think my nieces are old enough to read this yet, but there are some people who are probably in their 12s and 13s and 14s who this would probably be geared towards more. So I think it's a really fun story. I would like the art to have been better, but like I said, maybe it's just a stylized thing.
I don't think the art's bad. I'm looking at what you have.
Yeah, no,
I don't think it's bad.
I just looked into it. I do agree the girl's drawn a little weird, but I really like the stylized of the rabbits. So
yeah, so the rabbits are really cool. And if you go to the end of, I read this digitally, so at the end of my file, I've got like the concept art for it, and you see how they were looking at different colors. Different things. The rabbits are very much, I think that they're very well drawn. I think everything's really stylized. To me, it's just some of the facial expressions. And there was also a thing where originally the main character, I think, was supposed to be a little boy. So you see him as a little boy, and then they said, no, let's do this little girl. She's kind of a tomboy character. Anyway, all around good book. I recommend it if you've got kids who are, you don't want them reading some of the violent superhero stories or the violent non-superhero stories. You're looking for something that is not childish, but is safe for people their age. This is in your wheelhouse. Like I said, there's a little bit of violence. The girl gets smacked around by these adults, kind of this Matilda moment. So it's right there. It's right in that niche that is often, we look as, oh, well, you're too old for this or you're too young for this. I think it's geared towards that audience, and I really appreciated it. So hopefully you will too. Again, it's Aunt Agatha's home for wayward rabbits.
Very cool.
Keith Giffen, man. Solid stuff. But that's enough about books that came out this week. Or is it? Do we need to throw out some honorable mentions?
Yeah, I was going to say Farmhand number 5.
Yeah.
By Rob Guillory.
Mm-hmm.
And, which is a image book, another image book, or a Vertigo book, Border Town.
Ooh, yeah.
That book's just been off the fucking hook.
Because of you, that was my quote-unquote woof of the week on the Comic Book Bears podcast. They asked me to come do a guest spot because one of their anchors couldn't do it this past week, but totally threw your name out there and told them how much you were loving this book.
The last 3 pages in that book, oh my God. It's got a girl carving Aztec glyphs into her face while her racist vice principal's yelling at her. And he has a heart attack because she's doing this. So obviously he's got some issues. Then it switches to the skinhead's dad, who's a racist homophobe yelling out racist and homophobic stuff while his son's in the bathroom peeling his skin off of his body and turning into some sort of skeleton thing.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's both of those books are on my short list for both best horror books of the year and best new series of the year.
Yeah. Border Town has been excellent. I'm surprised it wasn't your book of the week.
It really, until I read Green Lantern, and then it was like, I'm going to go ahead and go with Green Lantern because I did Border Town issue number 1. So
here's my broken record opinion. Spider-Geddon number 3. It had 2 really great things in it that I just really fucking loved. There was a bit where Octavius was going to recruit other Spider-Men. They go to the world of the Spider-Man, and he's in his giant robot fighting a monster. They teleport into his giant robot, and Sean knows, but in most like Super Sentai and stuff like that, they always fight like the enemy, like all episode, and then finally after they get the upper hand, they'll finally use their final weapon or attack or whatever. And Octavius was like, "Just use this," and he's like, "It's too powerful." He's like, just listen, we don't have time for this. Just go ahead and use it. So he gets him to use it off the bat and just kills the monster. The other thing that I thought was hilarious in this, they added a new Spider-Man, and it's called Spiders Man. And it's thousands and thousands of spiders that think that they're Peter Parker. And it's like,
that's amazing.
And
that's
it's almost
terrifying.
It gives me this whole thing of like, either an alien in a human suit that's pretending to be human because that's how he's coming off in a lot of his dialogue, or like three kids in a trench coat pretending to be like an adult.
It sounds like something that your house neighbor John would use as his druid.
Right? But like I was going to take photos of some of the panels and stuff for it, and I didn't realize how horrifying it is, but one of the panels, whenever they're busting in on the inheritors, like they're all, going for punches or swinging web, he's got both of his arms out and there's fucking spiders flooding like forward.
Yeah, that's a little terrifying.
Yeah.
That's my nightmare.
Yeah.
Sean, you got any books you want to throw out, man?
To also not sound like a broken record, I did not choose Batman. I believe it's 56 or something
Yeah.
they're at right now. The start of a new arc involving the Penguin. It was a phenomenal issue.
It was
but
very
I just really wanted to put some a little more attention to Runaways, which has become a really good series.
I'm glad you did, because it was fun to hear about.
My only question on Batman and the Penguin is, did I miss it or did they not talk about why him being in the coma and
I
coming
haven't
in?
read it yet, so I don't know.
Not addressed whatsoever.
Yeah, it wasn't dressed at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They're dealing with his loss of, I think Cynthia Cobblepot, who we don't know who that is.
Sister, I think.
Really? I looked it up. I thought I couldn't find anything, but that was very good. And a side note, since we are geekery, not comicery, I finished a novel this week that I want to bring attention to, an old book series that Craig put me on. As guilty as I am sounding right now, he gave it to me as a Christmas present last year, and I just
Novels
knocked it out. R.A. Salvatore's The Demon Wars.
God, yes.
The first book, The Demon Awakens, was amazing.
So good.
I'm sure it's still in print. That books don't go out print too often unless they're controversial.
Yeah, it's still in print.
It's an amazing book series, and little forewarning, shadowing, not spoilers. If your complaints about Salvatore's, he hates killing characters, he doesn't have this fucking problem in this book. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Demon Wars is fantastic. Is off on a fantastic start. The Demon Awakens by R.A. Salvatore.
Right on, dude. Well, so I have a few honorable mentions I want to throw out there. Bully Wars by Scotty Young and Aaron Conley. Issue 1 really grabbed my interest. Issue 2 kind of lost me for a minute, but issue 3 grabbed me again. So I was really happy to read that. Dead Rabbits number 2 by Jerry Duggan and John McCrae and Mike Spicer. Sorry, I got lost. I think phenomenal. Like, I love this book. Everything about it is, it's great. And then again, so I'm going to sound like a broken record. Y'all know the Hulk is my pinnacle of characterdom. Al Ewing and Joe Bennett. I put up a post on my Instagram. I'm calling it. Like, this is a legendary run.
Yeah,
this is one of, like, this is top 5 Hulk runs.
Wow.
So, seriously, I fundamentally believe that everything they are doing with this book is incredible.
I think we're actually in a time right now where a lot of books are going through legendary runs.
I agree.
You got Batman's definitely in a legendary run. You got Hulk is definitely in a legendary run. It appears that Green Lantern is going to be. There's a lot of good books out there right now in the superhero books.
Yeah, no joke. Well, let's talk about some of those books that are coming out. Let's pick some that are going to be ripe on Wednesday. Craig, what are you going to get ahead of yourself and tell listeners they should read?
Yeah, I picked Firefly number 1 because, more Firefly is always good, and it's being written by Greg Pak.
Yeah.
With Dan McDade and Lee Garbett, I guess is how you say it. Boom Studios. A couple other books. I'll wait until see what you guys pick, but that's my pick of the week.
So I'm going to tell you to get ahead of yourself by picking up Wonder Woman number 58. Specifically because G. Willow Wilson and Carrie Nord are taking over. G. Willow Wilson is the kind of creator and driving force behind, I don't know if she's the creator. I need to look that up to be sure, but Miss Marvel.
She's a creator.
She did. Okay. Yeah. I thought so. I just wasn't 100% sure. So Miss Marvel and G. is such a good person in general. So I'm really happy to support her, but is a great writer and has written some wonderful stories. And so I'm curious to see what she's going to do with the Amazon. You're talking about a woman who in real life, G. Willow Wilson is a Muslim woman. And so if you think about Wonder Woman, she's a woman from a land of brown-skinned people, or at least olive-skinned people, who has a different religion than the mainstream America that she's living in. So I think there's going to be some interesting stuff done with that. And Carrie Nord is a solid artist, so I'm really looking forward to that. So grab it, Wonder Woman 58, G. Willow Wilson and Carrie Nord.
Next week is Uncanny X-Men number 1.
Mm-hmm.
They, if you're like me and you kind of like, I'll be honest, Marvel's been killing it and getting me on more and more books here lately. And I've always been an X-Men fan. It's always felt like they're already in the middle of big arcs and big things going on. I just haven't jumped on. So if you're like me, you've been kind of waiting for a restart of sorts, or at least a new beginning, this is it. Uncanny X-Men #1 is going to start up. I believe it's going to be a 10-part weekly series before it goes monthly. So I'm looking forward to that just to get back on an X book in a few decades.
I'm not looking forward to the 20 variants that are coming out with it.
That's your choice, Greg. Your choice.
I'm actually, there's a 6-issue limited series that's starting up in DC next week that I'm interested in. I didn't know anything about its predecessor, but it's Electric Warriors.
Yep.
It's a 6-issue limited series launching from DC next week. Steve Orlando and Travel Foreman take us to 2735 when the world is just recovering from the great disaster and interplanetary disputes are settled by diplomatic gladiators called Electric Warriors in Trial by Combat. Set firmly in the DCU's future after the time of Commandi and before the Legion of Superheroes forms, Orlando likens the Electric Warriors as the Dark Ages to LSH's Age of Enlightenment. It just seemed interesting, and like all of the art, the concept art and everything for the characters they've been putting out has been really awesome.
Yeah, Travel Foreman, man.
Yeah. So I'm pretty stoked on it. And I mean, it's just going to be 6 issues. So if you guys want to know maybe what I think on that next week to see if you should either pick it up in trade paperback form or just pick it up single issues, listen next week.
Jerry's calling his book of the week already.
I know.
So I'm actually curious about what you think about this because I know you weren't crazy about Dead Kings, which was another Steve Orlando book. So I want to see, like...
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious to how you're going to compare and contrast
like
those
Steve
two.
Orlando, but he's hit and miss for me as
for
well.
sure. Me as well.
I mean, when they're showing us all this, because it seemed like more of Dead Kings was just more earthbound and like you get that dystopian future vibe.
You wanted more giant robots.
Yes,
Giant bear robots.
You cannot show me giant robots in the first 2 pages and then take that away from me. But also,
that is exactly how I felt about the last Godzilla movie.
Oh yeah.
You can't promise me giant monsters fighting and then never show them.
Other than that, I'm sure there's some fucking Spider-Geddon thing coming out next week as well that I'm looking forward to. I looked ahead at their checklist, and they have fucking 11 more Spider-Geddon issues and crossovers.
So you guys have that to look forward to.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, are we ready to bring this thing home, guys?
A couple more real
we're
quick. Mr. Miracle, number 12. It's the finale to that. Comes out next week.
Is there going to be a vegetable tray?
I'm sorry?
Is there going to be a vegetable tray?
I hope so, because
should be.
nothing better than Darkseid eating carrots off of a vegetable tray. 412 panels. And then Bitterroot Image Comics starts next week.
Yep. Well, all right. So are we ready to bring this home now?
Now we are.
Okay. Then I will do so.
Unless anybody else has on
Murder Falcon #2 comes out.
Oh, yes.
Ooh, yeah. Murder Falcon. Head out to your local comic shops, guys. So I put up a short video on our YouTube page, which, is normally dominated by Sean, but I pop up there every once in a while and put gave my opinions on some of the books that came out in the previews catalog. So do yourselves and your local comic book shops a favor. Go sign up for a pull list and let them know what you want in advance so they can get it ordered. That way they're good to order it, you're good to buy it, and you're not missing out on some of that good that we all know you're going to love.
Well, the flip side of that is if you're here in Sherwood, North Little Rock area, 3 of the 4 of us are at the local comic book store every Wednesday. If you want to come hang out with us and just talk comics and just be part of the crew hanging out at the comic book store.
Do it. Come see us, guys. So go do that. So in the meantime, you can head over to our YouTube page and see all the good that Sean's posting up over there. You can get on our Instagram and our Facebook and our Twitter pages and see us talking about news, posting pictures of our favorite panels, doing a little bit of everything, and being part of the Southern Fried Fam community. It's a fun time. You should do so. You can always go on iTunes and leave us a rating and review. We really appreciate that. It not only lets iTunes know that, hey, these guys might be something worth listening to. They bump us up in their algorithms a little bit, but it also lets us kind of know how we're doing and judge ourselves. We're nothing if not constantly trying to provide a better quality of a show. That's why we're going to kick me off someday. So it'll be just amazing.
No, because we have no one to do the editing.
And yeah, if nothing else, come back next week. Happy Veterans Day again. I want to stress that we appreciate you. We thank you for your service, and yeah, just thanks for all you do in the world. Stay strong. I know PTSD is a big thing in the vet community, and I want to, in a roundabout way, say this: if you need help, if you need to talk to someone, reach out. It's also November, which is Male Suicide Awareness Month, and so much of that happens in the veterans community that it's not funny. So reach out to a friend, us if you need to.
Sure.
Other than that, come back next week. We're going to drop more of the Southern Fried goodness that you guys know and love. We love doing it, and go forth and love some comics. Woo!